Welcome to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Chapter 41 Wei Wei. I just think the conditions are too few. One is the country. One is the father. But Vivi only hesitated for a moment before making a decision. Her mother passed away early, and her father is her only relative. Moreover, she had no choice from the start. She was inexplicably forced into marriage by the world government. She simply had no right to refuse. Okay. Vivi nodded heavily, thinking in her heart that once father's condition improved, she would end her own life. Not long after. Cobra's hospital room. Only Cam, Vivi, and Cobra, who was lying on the bed, were present. Heal. Amidst Vivi's expectant gaze. Gentle white light bloomed. Cobra's hair, which had turned white due to overwork, turned black, and clumps of black particles seeped out of his pores. Cobra's whole body was filled with an unpleasant smell. That was the toxin accumulated over many years. To be precise, Cobra didn't have any serious illness, it was more due to overwork. And after the Alabasta War ended, more things were waiting for him to deal with, accelerating the process of exhaustion. Whoosh. Gentle energy refreshed the heart, instantly pulling Cobra back from his sleep. He squinted his eyes and immediately saw a strange man. You are. I am Cam Saint Korakuredo. Saint. Cobra's expression slightly froze, and he said to Vivi, Vivi, please go out for a moment. After dismissing Vivi, Cobra directly asked, You are the celestial dragon who wants to marry Vivi. Cam was surprised. You know about this? Cobra nodded slightly. In fact, before Vivi was even born, Saint Saturn had already approached me. Cobra put on a sad look and said, Actually, my poor health is also related to this. Stop. Cam directly waved his hand to stop him. Don't blather on about these things. The reason I came to save you is that I hope you won't go courting death at next year's World Conference. Don't ask about things that aren't relevant. I don't know what happened to your ancestors. The five elders won't say either. And don't ask about what D is, or what the dawn is, you will die. Your death is your own business, but don't get in my way. Cam said these things as if he was just complaining casually, in a light and breezy manner. But in Cobra's ears, boom, like a thunderclap. Cobra's entire person froze, as if petrified. Damn it. There's a spy. There's definitely a spy. How would he know these things? Don't be alarmed. Cam waved his hand and said, I have the ability to foresee the future. According to the normal course, you will be killed by the five old men after meeting them at the conference. Vivi will also be captured, and after a lucky escape, she will begin a life on the run. Are you threatening me? Cobra looked displeased, obviously not believing that Cam really had the ability to foresee the future. Of course, you can take it as a threat. Cam said calmly, but I just want to ask you, if you die, what will happen to Alabasta? What will happen to the people of this country? But there's still Vivi. Cobra wanted to interject, but Cam interrupted him, don't bring up Vivi. She will be my woman and won't interfere with this mess. Since Saint Saturn came to you before Vivi was even born, you should have thought about this day. Who told your ancestors to give up their noble status? So, I, in my capacity as a world noble, the direct son of the Clucklade family, and your future son-in-law, order you to honestly serve as your king until I and Vivi have a baby, or rather, until my and Vivi's child comes of age. Don't go courting death. PFF'd. Hearing this, Cobra spat out a mouthful of old blood. It's one thing to want to snatch my daughter. And you want my daughter to have children for you. It's one thing to want my daughter to have children for you, but you also want me to continue working for more than 10 years. Ah. Cobra gritted his teeth, but he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. At least this celestial dragon is much better than the pig-headed monster he expected. Alright. Go to sleep. Cam didn't care and sent Cobra back to dreamland with a punch. Not long after, Vivi's boudoir. Cam said with a serious face, Alright, your father can at least live until our child comes of age. Huh. As soon as these words came out, as if facing a great enemy, Vivi's expression suddenly became resentful. Our child. Sure enough, this celestial dragon wants to force me to submit through my father. How despicable and shameless. Huh. Although Cam was surprised by Vivi's sudden change in expression, he didn't pay attention and continued, Now it's time to fulfill the condition you promised me. Squeak. Vivi gritted her teeth tightly. Her pretty face gradually turned rosy, and her body had a subtle, imperceptible change, beginning to stir. But Vivi immediately looked stern again. She didn't want to be defiled by this birth, and if that were the case, she would rather die. Thinking like this, the palm of her hand, hiding a sharp blade, was already a splash of red. While Vivi's thoughts were surging, Cam had already continued, I want you to lock up your father-in-law during the World Conference. At the same time, Vivi also stood up angrily and shouted, Birth, I would rather die than. Then, both of their voices stopped at the same time. They looked at each other, both dumbfounded. You look at me, I look at you. The scene became awkward. After a long time, Cam took the lead and said, how about you put the knife away first? I think you must have misunderstood. The thing is like this. Cam thought about it and explained the future Cobra would go courting death and his own considerations. Ding, detected that Vivi's affection for the host has increased. Affection plus 10. Current is 9. Hearing the ins and outs of the matter, Vivi blushed and said in a voice like a mosquito's hum, is that all the condition you said? It really is a mosquito's hum. Because Cam didn't hear it at all. Cam leaned forward and asked, what did you say? I didn't hear clearly. I said. Feeling Cam's closeness, Vivi trembled and her voice became even softer. It's as good as saying nothing. Cam still didn't hear it, and shouted into Vivi's ear again. You, say, what? I still, didn't, hear, clearly. Vivi. She was angry. Covering her face, she opened her throat and shouted. I said, is your condition just this small matter? I thought. Of course, it's just this. Cam glared at Vivi unhappily. Otherwise, what did you think it was? I. Vivi hesitated, and her pretty face brushed. Suddenly it turned red. Oh my god. How could I have thought crookedly? I thought that Cam came over late at night to covet my body, I thought he wanted to do that something. Not only that, I was wrong from the start, his purpose was just to help my father, Vivi imagined, he didn't want to snatch me away at all. Why do I still think he is that kind of birth? Why do I always think in that direction? Is my thinking very dirty? Fortunately, this Cam doesn't seem to know. Vivi thought so, feeling a little more comfortable in her heart. I understand. At this time, Cam nodded like a chicken pecking rice and smiled mischievously. I understand, you thought I would do that something to you. Cam glared at Vivi unhappily. Really? What are you women thinking about all day long? As soon as these words came out. Vivi. I just wanted to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. How embarrassing. Vivi's mind was blank, her face was as red as an apple, and she said timidly, I just thought that this condition was too little. Think the condition is too little. Suddenly, Cam closed his eyes and pointed at himself and said, or else, you kiss me. Vivi. Chapter 42 Mingmei. Do you know I'm a woman? Let's go home. Back at the hotel, Cam raised his arm and shouted. Lucky was a little dazed and circled Cam 3 times. Big brother, where's your sister-in-law? Cam. Still at the palace. Is that bitch unwilling to give Big Brother that thing? Lucky was immediately unhappy and angrily said, Big Brother, let's go tie her up right now. Bang. Ouch. Damn it, Big Brother, why did you hit me again? Lucky cried and stroked his head, feeling very wronged. Cam smiled and said, although there was no that thing, but Vivi was such a fierce person. At that time, she was holding a knife. Cam felt that if he really forced her, with her character, she wouldn't attack him, but she would definitely kill herself. What he wanted was not a one-time Vivi. Moreover, he was surprised to find that Alabasta was not stable now, and there would always be times when Vivi would ask him for help in the future. However, Cam licked his lips, feeling the strange aura inside. He felt that Vivi still misunderstood him in the end. He actually just wanted to say that kissing her face was enough. Cam smiled and said, it's not worse than that thing. Lucky was even more confused when he heard this. Not worse than that thing. How is that possible? Speaking of that thing, Lucky didn't dare to ask more and change the subject. Big brother, do you still have any of those vigorous pills? The taste of those women, I want to try it again. When Cam heard this, his expression suddenly became strange. Didn't you say a few days ago that you would rather starve to death? Die outside. Jump off the building rather than do that with commoners. I. Lucky stammered, his face turning red. I suddenly feel that the taste of commoners is quite good too. Lucky scratched his head and said with a dry smile. Ah, not commoners, but sisters, these sisters are so charming. Ha ha ha. Cam smiled, and with a wave of his hand, he took out 10 vigorous pills. Let's go back first, we celestial dragon can have as many women as we want. But speaking of this, Cam suddenly thought that the experience given by those amorous women was very little. This result basically broke his idea of going to red light district to farm experience. And without exception, their fate values are very low. System, what is fate value? Ding equals equals. The higher the fate value, the more important the character is in the pirate world. The higher the fate value, the higher the reward the host will get for successfully plowing. Looks like it's about the same as I guessed. Cam pondered, then frowned and asked, System, does this deny that I can only plow the characters that appear in open double angle bracket pirate king close double angle bracket, otherwise the fate value is not enough? Host, that's not the case. The characters that appear in open double angle bracket pirate king close double angle bracket definitely have high fate values, but it does not mean that other people's fate values are necessarily low. And women with low fate values do not mean that their beauty is also low, such as the host's maid Anna. This system will not interfere with the host plowing any woman with low fate values. Otherwise, how could the women in open double angle bracket pirate king close double angle bracket be enough? How many women appear in open double angle bracket pirate king close double angle bracket? Host, you are going to become the man of the harem king. Cam. His eyes lit up, and he suddenly understood. Yes, I shouldn't choose which land to plow for the sake of rewards. If the system hadn't appeared. I originally planned to buy a kingdom and be a local emperor with 3,000 beauties in my harem. Can't put the cart before the horse. Cam thought so, but immediately felt strange. Cam was exasperated. System, what did you just say I was going to become? The host is going to become the man of the harem king. Cam's face darkened. Remove, of the man. Opening square bracket comma closing square bracket. The system paused. The host is going to become the harem king. Cam and his group quickly packed their luggage, and rode camels towards the end of the desert. It was not dawn yet. It was the best time to cross the desert. System, I have another question. On the way, Cam asked again. Mancheri is a devil fruit user, and the reward for tilling the land is the heal fruit ability, while Anna, as a non-devil fruit user, brings me an increase in hockey. Does that mean that I can give the devil fruit to the women to eat before tilling the land to obtain the corresponding devil fruit ability? Ding equals equals host's idea is wrong. Most of the rewards obtained from plowing non-devil fruit users are the exquisite improvement of hockey, physical skills, and swordsmanship, but this is not absolute. Similarly, the rewards obtained from plowing devil fruit users are not necessarily the abilities of devil fruit users. Is that so? A trace of loss flashed in Cam's eyes. Then it disappeared in a flash. From a celestial dragon who planned to run away. After obtaining the system, he took Monet, married Mancheri, seduced the pirate empress, and now won Princess Vivi's first kiss. He also has the ability to fight Wong Luffy in terms of strength. He felt that there was no need to ask for anything more. Whoosh. Quote. At this moment, as if responding to Cam, a ray of light was born from the distant lonely desert. Cam raised his hand and said loudly, Stop. Lucky, Kaji, and Mingmei were surprised. Big brother Cam, boss, what's wrong? Cam turned around and pointed to the distance. The sun is out. The three of them looked in the direction Cam was pointing. Warm, warm. Without the coldness of the night just now, and different from the heat of the desert at noon. Big brother. Lucky said with a look of disgust. You don't want to learn from those Chunabu people in comic books to make a wish, do you? Huh. Cam was stunned. Thinking in his heart, the Chunabu people in comics seem to be able to make their dreams come true. It's not impossible. Cam said, pointing to the rising sun. I am going to become the harem king. Cough cough cough, I want to become the harem king. Lucky also came to his senses and also pointed to the rising sun. I also want to be like Big Brother and become. Get out. Cam's face darkened. There is only one harem king. Lucky also said. Then I want to become the man of the harem king. Cam's face darkened even more. Get out. Quote. Ah. Lucky touched his head with a grievance. Why is this not okay, and that is not okay either? He pondered for a while and then said loudly, then I hope that when I die, I will die on a woman's belly. Ah, this. Cam, Kaji, and Mingmei all supported their foreheads, thinking that this Lucky was really a talent. Kaji. I don't want anything else, I just hope I can do that with Gion. Lucky curled his lips with a look of disgust. I see you have no chance, you are so fast without vigorous pills. Kaji. His face was livid, indicating that he was offended. Thinking that you only have 2.5 minutes without vigorous pills. At this time, Mingmei also opened her mouth. I also think there is no chance, women don't like fast ones. Cam said in a good mood at this moment, Kaji, you have to remember. Simps, in the end, you will have nothing. Hiss. Quote. Simps, in the end, you will have nothing. Hearing this, Kaji suddenly felt enlightened. At this time, Mingmei also pointed to the rising sun. Cam. Hey, that one with no sense of existence. Mingmei. Me. Yes, it's you. Cam said unhappily, can't you take off your chest binder first and then come? Mingmei was shocked. You know I'm a woman. Nonsense. Cam rolled his eyes at Mingmei. Those 2 lumps of meat are so obvious that even a fool can see it. Ah, this. Kaji's face was livid, indicating that he was offended. Rogue. Mingmei's pretty face was slightly red, and she glared at Cam fiercely. She didn't say much, untied her turban, and grew black and beautiful long hair. Then she pulled out the chest binder, and 2 round and bouncy monsters jumped in front of everyone. Really a female celestial dragon. Quote. Chapter 43. Yimu, a face that is 90% similar to Wei Wei. Is she really a celestial dragon? Kaji's eyes were as wide as a husky's. He hadn't realized this celestial dragon was a woman. He had even invited her to the red light district yesterday. What the? Kaji wanted to observe further, but immediately sensed something was wrong. Turning his head, he mounted his camel and immediately ran away. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Cam and Lucky repeatedly marveled. They were wondering how such a large scale could be bound to a size that could barely pass as a man. Noticing the gazes of the people around, Mingmei immediately raised her head, her face full of pride. Then, pointing at the rising sun, she closed her eyes and silently recited in her heart. Cam asked, what were you thinking just now? Mingmei pouted, I won't tell you. Then I won't tell you either. Cam said, not tell me what? Mingmei asked, puzzled. Hee. Cam chuckled mischievously and ran away. Lucky ran even further, and Kaji had already disappeared. Only then did Cam shout loudly, you're not wearing anything inside. Not wearing. Mingmei looked down, her body suddenly stiffening, her face as red as a ripe cherry. Cam, you bastard, don't you run. Comma. The next day, Alabasta Royal Family Palace. Father. Vivi couldn't help but ask, is what that celestial dragon said true? Do you want to court death? Ah, this. Cobra's face was ashen. What was his daughter saying? Saying that he wanted to court death. Vivi, you know. Cobra coughed lightly and said, my health wasn't good before, and I wouldn't have lived long anyway. I did think about meeting with the 5 elders, and I did plan to ask about forbidden questions. Cobra changed his tone and added, but now that my health is good, I don't have those thoughts anymore. Vivi nodded and asked again, what's the situation with that marriage proposal? Cobra's face immediately turned grave. Vivi, don't force yourself if you don't want to. As your father, I will never sell my daughter's purity. At worst, we'll go far away. Whoever wants this broken ancestral heritage can have it. Seeing her father's attitude, Vivi covered her mouth and giggled. Father, don't worry, he didn't do anything to me yesterday. Besides, that celestial dragon doesn't seem as annoying as I imagined, and he's not the pig-headed monster in the legends either. It's best if you think that way. Cobra nodded and said, moreover, Satan said that he would only allow people with normal intelligence to marry into our royal family. And celestial dragon with normal intelligence are very proud and rarely willing to mate with us and bear offspring. Cobra thought for a while and then said, actually, what we should be worried about now is the internal troubles of Alabasta. Vivi asked, is father talking about those ministers? That's right. Cobra nodded. Dash 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 dash. Amazon Lily, commonly known as Daughter Island. At this moment, Empress Boa Hancock sat on the throne formed by Salome, looking into the distance with a worried expression, not knowing what she was thinking. Buzz. Quote. Just then, rows of trailers loaded with food were dragged to the palace hall, making a buzzing sound. Sister. The second sister, who was responsible for recording the food, asked, "Are you still going to send food to Luffy today?" Hancock frowned slightly and said in a deep voice, "Let's forget about it today." The third sister interjected and asked, "Then tomorrow? We'll see then. You guys hurry up and send food to Luffy, don't let him go hungry." The Empress said, but her expression didn't change much. Sigh. The two sisters sighed upon hearing this. They each retreated. On the way, Margaret suddenly looked at the two sisters and asked, "My ladies, what exactly is wrong with Empress?" The second sister shook her head. "I don't know." The third sister shook her head. "I don't know either." The second sister and third sister were both surprised. Ever since their sister went to save them with Luffy a few months ago, they felt that their sister had changed. She wasn't as enthusiastic about Luffy as before. There was also an indescribable change in her temperament. It seemed like she had become more mature. "That's right, let's find Grandma Za. She must know." Walking, Margaret suddenly said. "That's right, let's find Grandma Za." The two sisters' eyes lit up instantly. Soon, the group found Grandma Za, who was the former Empress of Amazon Lily, Gloriosa. "Grandma Za, what exactly is wrong with Sister Empress?" In the expectant gazes of the group, Grandma Za smiled with squinted eyes and said, "I see, Hancock, this girl has someone else in her heart, so her feelings for Luffy have faded a lot. But from the fact that she still sends food to Luffy, Luffy's share is still bigger." Bang! As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the group suddenly changed. Someone immediately pointed at Grandma Za and roared angrily, "Grandma Za! What do you mean by this? You are slandering Empress." The group wasn't stupid either. Wasn't this saying that their Empress was having an affair? How could Grandma Za not understand what the crowd meant? She immediately said, "But Empress hasn't established a relationship with Luffy, it's free love, how is that slander?" The group was stunned, feeling that it made sense. And, Grandma Za waved her hand and smiled faintly, continuing, "From my perspective as someone who has been there, I don't think Luffy is suitable for Hancock. He's too dense. Let me tell you. When I was young." So, Grandma Za began to tell the crowd about her past when she was young. "Did we forget something?" After a long time, Margaret suddenly said. The group. "Forget what? Margaret, don't interrupt. Grandma Za is telling a story." "Yes, don't interrupt. On this day, Luffy would never forget that he was hungry all day." At the same time, hundreds of miles away from Daughter Island, on a cargo ship heading to Shambles Islands. "Eula's sister, you are so beautiful, you will definitely be able to sell for a good price." "Eula's sister, why is your there so big?" "Eula's sister, why is the skin there so white? It doesn't look like someone fleeing from disaster, right? Eula's sister, why don't you say anything?" A mischievous girl asked incessantly. But this woman named Eula didn't reply, her face full of numbness. "Boss, what exactly is wrong with her?" The girl couldn't bear it anymore and asked. An old man put on a stern face. "She used to be a princess of a kingdom, but it was destroyed by a pirate. Alas, she suffered a great disaster and became a slave. I'm afraid no one can accept it." "Pirate? What pirate is so powerful?" "I don't know, but it is said that he escaped from Impel Down." "I see." The girl nodded and walked up to Eula again. "Eula's sister, don't worry, with your appearance, you will definitely be bought by a wealthy family. At that time, you can recharge your batteries and then avenge your country." Hearing this, Eula's numb eyes suddenly twitched. Avenge. Dash 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 dash. Holy Land, Mary Geoise. Deep in Pangaea Castle. The five elders knelt on one knee, looking reverently at the person on the empty throne. "Amu, what are your orders?" How many years has it been this year? A hoarse voice echoed in the huge, dark palace. The voice was small, but it had a sense of majesty. Reporting to Amu, it has been 800 years. 800 years. Amu was obviously stunned for a moment, his eyes seemed to be filled with reminiscence. After regaining his senses, he said again, my holy race's hunting competition should start again, kill all those kingdoms that refuse to submit. Yes. Amu. The 5 elders bowed. By the way, Amu. There has been progress in the Alabasta royal family's marriage plan. At this time, Satan suddenly said. Amu was obviously stunned again. Which idiot wants to tarnish his bloodline? Satan stepped forward and handed over the relevant information. Amu, it is the 5th son of the Clucklade family, Korakuredo Kamu say. Amu glanced at it and immediately lost interest. If he likes to make trouble, let him make trouble. If you have time, you can let him come and see me. Yes. Amu. Satan bowed, and the 5 left. It's been 800 years, this time I will definitely kill you. Amu slowly approached a huge lily window. Tear. A flash of lightning flashed across. In the dim room, it reflected Imu's entire face. Incredibly. His numb, emotionless face was 9/10 similar to Vivi's. Chapter 44 King Luffy is going out to sea again. Comma comma. Comma comma. A few days later. Cam returned to marry Geoise. And didn't idle. Monet wasn't pregnant yet, so he worked desperately hard. Cam didn't neglect other things either. Because the original owner had been depressed, the huge palace didn't even have a single maid. The maid Anna was also picked up by Cam himself later. Thinking about what to do after Mancheri and Anna's bellies started to grow. There must be someone to take care of them. Need to recruit people. Korakuredo Kamu say. Sincerely recruits maids. Dai Yu, 8 million belly a month. First requirement. Obey management, love young master. Second requirement. Outstanding appearance. But what surprised Cam was. No one came despite such generous conditions. Damn it. Although I have the idea of selecting a concubine. But that's the second requirement. Later, women did come. However, they were sent by Kashong, Zhenya, and Junlai, but Cam was not very relieved and did not dare to hand over the 2 pregnant women to them to take care of. Oh, let's go to my kingdom then. Cam sighed leisurely. Speaking of which, this king, haven't even appeared yet. Effortless years passed. In a blink of an eye, several months passed. Husband, what's going on with me? Why is there still no movement? Monet touched her belly with a look of grievance. Seeing that Mancheri and Anna were about to give birth in a few days, she didn't have any movement at all. Cam also frowned. He had taken Monet to the hospital for many checkups. Monet is fine. He is even more fine. Cam asked the system. System. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. Probably knows, but just won't say. Maybe it's a later new dungeon, we'll see then. Cam smiled and said, I will go to Dressrosa in a while, let's go together then. Yes. Monet nodded emphatically, her pretty face blushing slightly. Then husband, let's continue. Cam waved his hand. No, these days, Wang Luffy is about to set sail. Cam's idea is very simple, only by completely strangling Wang Luffy can he live a comfortable life. He doesn't want his newborn child to be abused by the world because of the downfall of the celestial dragons a year later. Why would Cam think this way? Just think about Doflamingo's childhood and you'll know. Comma comma. Comma comma. One day later, a restaurant outside Mary Geoise. Cam originally planned to happily replenish his body, but before he could take a bite of the meal, he encountered someone looking for trouble. Pa! With a sound. Kalong slapped the table in front of him in half with a palm, and said angrily, Cam. I won't let you turn over. You should always stay in your palace. Cam paused and said in surprise, Third brother, do you know who the boss of this store is? I'm talking harshly, what are you asking the store boss for? Kalong continued angrily, I am the direct son of the Clucklade family. Who the boss is has nothing to do with them. Pa. Before Kalong could finish speaking, he was slapped directly. Who the hell hit M? Pa. I Nima. Pa. Elder. Kalong's legs trembled, and he finally saw clearly who hit him. The beautiful woman who was in the middle with Satan during the hunting competition selection. Few people know her name, but they all know that she is at the top of God's knights. Her status and strength are quite high. Korakuredo Kalong. The beautiful woman picked up Kalong and said expressionlessly, "Do you know who the boss of this store is?" Ah. Kalong panicked and trembled. Could it be your old man's? No. The beautiful woman said. Not. Then what am I afraid of? Kalong raised his head, looking like a dead pig unafraid of boiling water, and said, Elder Makabaka, since this matter has nothing to do with you, please don't interfere. It is normal for the family to fight for power. Idiot. This store is my granddaughter's. The beautiful woman glanced at Kalong coldly. You smashed my granddaughter's store, how to compensate, otherwise I don't mind killing you directly. Pa pa pa. The beautiful woman slapped out afterimages with her palm. Only when Kalong had only one breath left did she throw Kalong out. Cam bowed and saluted. Thank you, elder. No need to thank me. The beautiful woman waved her hands repeatedly. Kalong is right, this is your family's internal affair. If he hadn't broken my granddaughter's table, I wouldn't have taken action. The beautiful woman looked behind her and said, You young people talk. At the same time as the words fell, a beautiful young woman appeared behind the beautiful woman. It is Mingmei. Soon, Cam and Mingmei found a private room and sat down. What do you want from me? Cam asked. Why, can't I find you if I have nothing to do? Mingmei glared at Cam and then said, The hunting competition has been reopened, I want to team up with you then. Cam frowned and hurriedly asked, Hunting competition? Isn't it gone long ago? If Cam remembers correctly, after the God Valley incident, most of the celestial dragons were afraid, so they didn't dare to sign up, which led to the event being shelved. You don't know. Mingmei was stagnant and looked at Cam in surprise. He is at least the first in this year's hunting selection, how could he not know? You can find out about this kind of thing just by going out a little bit, has he been so busy these months? Mingmei rubbed her head. Then he explained. The higher-ups ordered that the hunting competition be reopened. The participants are the participants of the previous hunting selections. Mingmei paused and then said, Your third brother Kalong was also released early because of this matter. When? 1 year later. After eating, Cam went to Shambles Islands. The road was full of heaviness. 1 year later, this is a very sensitive time point. According to the plot, after Wang Lufei sets sail again, he will ascend to the throne of the 4 emperors in a few months, and then Egghead Island, Elbaf. In all likelihood, at the hunting competition a year later, the celestial dragons will just happen to conflict with the Straw Hat crew. And it is very likely that this hunting competition is the fuse that led to Luffy and the celestial dragons completely going to war. Then, the Dragon Life Army picked up the leak, and the rule of the celestial dragons was overthrown. If Cam is still alive, he will be hunted down endlessly, just like the former dynasty prince who is always hunted down in martial arts novels. Thinking of all this, Cam's face was extremely gloomy. Suddenly, Cam laughed. Why think so much, just kill Wang Lufei first. At this time, Clucklade family territory, in Kalong's palace. Damn old hag, it's just breaking a table. Why do you want to blackmail me so much money? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 45. The Fake Straw Hat Gang, he doesn't even wear his underwear outside, he's a pervert. Saint Kalong looked at the promissory note that had been delivered to his door, and he was furious. How did he know that shop belonged to Mingmei? A celestial dragon should be enjoying life, not meddling in unnecessary things. Then, Saint Kalong, the round-faced CP0 next to him tentatively asked, Do we still have to compensate Mingmei Palace? Idiot. Kalong glared and said, That old hag is high-ranking and influential, and she dotes on her granddaughter the most. How can we not compensate? It's just 100 million belly anyway. Saint Kalong. The round-faced CP0 paused slightly and corrected, it's 1 billion belly. What? Kalong was shocked and immediately snatched the promissory note. He carefully counted the zeros on it, his hands trembling. 1, 2, 3, 9. It really is 1 billion belly. Kalong trembled with anger, almost unable to breathe. Saint Kalong, how about we just give a token amount? The round-faced CP0 was in pain. This 1 billion belly also included a portion of his salary. Compensate fully. Kalong said through gritted teeth. He was also in pain. Although celestial dragons are very rich, even they can't withstand such extortion. Moreover, he, Kalong, was the poorest of the 5 siblings. Saint Kalong. Just then, a figure stepping on air silently appeared in front of the palace window and bowed to Kalong. Seeing the arrival, Kalong was immediately overjoyed and hurriedly asked, "How is it? Did you find anything?" Saint Kalong. The figure entered the room and said, "I have not failed my mission." As he spoke, he handed the already sorted documents to Kalong. So that's how it is, so that's how it is. Kalong smiled so wide that he couldn't close his mouth. Straw Hat Kid, rubber fruit. Wanting to capture our clan's nemesis to gain merit, what a great idea. He, Kalong, was also a direct descendant. Knowing that the Nika fruit is the current rubber fruit, and then having his subordinates investigate Kam's recent whereabouts, he could know many things. Keep a close watch on Kam. Kalong instructed, since Straw Hat Kid has already set sail, and Kam is now heading to Shambles Islands. He must be trying to take the opportunity to kill Straw Hat Kid. Kalong's eyes lit up. When the time comes, we'll directly intercept him, and the credit will be mine, Kalong's. Understood. The figure paused slightly, his expression somewhat awkward, but Kam Saint is also a celestial dragon. He was just an employee, he wouldn't dare to do anything to a celestial dragon. Don't worry. Kalong waved his hand with a smile and said, I'll personally go and meet my 5th brother. At this time, Kam did not go directly to Island 17, where the Thousand Sunny was docked, but instead went to Island 18 to find Kaji and Lucky. It's worth mentioning that since they had both used power pills, they often ran to Island 18 to help women. Lucky. Shish. Lucky made a shushing gesture, nervously saying, Big brother, my name is Kira now. Boss Kam, I am called Kajika. Kaji next to him also spoke nervously, not wanting his secret of often helping young women in distress to be discovered. This. Kam was speechless, he was wondering if he had given them too many power pills this month. There's serious business. Kam coughed lightly and said seriously, Straw Hat Kid has already set sail. Lucky, this is the Straw Hat Crew's wanted poster. Immediately notify me if you find anyone in it. Kam took out a stack of the Straw Hat Crew's wanted posters and handed them to Lucky, then said to Kaji, Kaji, there are some secrets I can't tell you, but you just need to know that if you can deal with Straw Hat Kid, I can directly guarantee you a seat as Admiral. Yes. Kaji's eyes lit up, and he seriously gave a military salute. After explaining everything, Kam returned to Island 17 to lie in wait. 2 years later was a relatively vague time, he wasn't sure exactly which day Wang Luffy would arrive at Shambles Islands. But he clearly remembered that Zoro was the first to arrive, and Wang Luffy was the last to arrive at Shambles Islands. But after lying in wait for 7 days, he didn't encounter a single person, no one appeared on the Thousand Sunny. Could it be that Zoro is lost again? Just as Kam was wondering if he had misremembered, the phone bug on his body rang. Big brother. I've found the Straw Hat Crew. Lucky's face was excited on the other end of the phone bug. At the big tavern on Island 20, it's cat burglar Nami and pervert Frankie. Kam was stunned. Zoro hadn't even arrived yet, and Nami and Frankie had arrived first. Could this be the butterfly effect? Kam thought for a while and then instructed, keep a good watch on them, I'll be there right away. Not long after. This is the Nami and Frankie you were talking about. Kam stared blankly at the Nami downstairs, whose belly was bigger than her face, and he was almost dumbfounded. Are you blind? Kam grabbed Lucky's collar and roared, how are they the Straw Hat Crew? They're not. Lucky's face was full of confusion, but they look exactly like the ones on the wanted posters. You. Kam was furious and speechless for a moment. This is exactly the same. This is completely unrelated. Boss Kam Saint, according to investigations, this is the fake Straw Hat Crew led by Tomorrow Black. Kaji next to him frowned and said, they look very similar, it's indeed difficult to distinguish them without careful observation. Very similar. Difficult to distinguish. Hearing Kaji's words, Kam's anger rose again, and he shouted while holding Nami and Frankie's wanted posters, you said that one is Nami. Look carefully. The real Namis are the snow white ones. Not the belly. Kam pointed to the fake Frankie downstairs, you tell me that one is a pervert. He doesn't even wear his underwear on the outside, he's a ghost of a pervert. Lucky and Kaji's expressions froze upon hearing this. They rubbed their eyes, looked at the two on the wanted posters, and then looked at Nami and Frankie downstairs, their eyes gradually shining. The two said in unison, "Big Brother Boss is awesome. Big Brother Boss can distinguish such similar people at a glance." PFF'd. Cam's face turned red with anger. He was starting to regret taking these two idiots as his subordinates. Oh no, boss is spitting blood. Damn it. Big Brother has been angered. It must be these two fake lowly people who angered Big Brother to the point of spitting blood. Lucky swung his fist, preparing to kill the two of them, and Kaji also rolled up his sleeves, looking angry. Wait. Cam stopped the two of them. Don't touch them, just send someone to follow them. Huh. Kaji and Lucky both made a sound of surprise. They've already confirmed that they're fake, so what's the point of following them? But, the two still wanted to say something, but Cam directly waved his hand to interrupt. No buts, they can lead us to the Straw Hat crew. Cam suddenly remembered that in the original plot, Chopper had mistakenly identified this pirated Straw Hat crew, and following them might lead to Chopper. Chapter 46 Eula. After giving his instructions, Cam didn't linger and planned to return to Island 17. However, as he passed in front of an ordinary shopping mall, he suddenly stopped. Ding equals equals. Ding equals equals. Ding equals equals. Damn it, stop dinging. What is it? Cam asked anxiously. Ding equals equals detecting a woman with extremely high destiny value inside this building. A woman with extremely high destiny value. Cam was slightly stunned. Currently, the highest destiny value in his harem is Mancherry with 80, followed by Monet with 70. Both women have plot relevance in the Pirate King world, and neither can be considered extremely high. How could someone in a random shopping mall have such a high destiny value? Big Brother, are you going to buy slaves? Lucky was first stunned, but upon seeing the shopping mall, he quickly reacted and asked. Slaves. Cam looked confused, thinking that this shopping mall looked like a legitimate one. Big Brother, you rarely come out, so you don't know. Actually, the top floor of this shopping mall is a slave auction house. Lucky rubbed his hands together, grinning mischievously. It is said that sometimes there are unplucked merfolk beauties. So that's how it is. A second ago, Cam was still surprised, wondering if women with extremely high destiny values were like cabbages. The next second, he understood. Slaves come from all over the world, so it's possible. Let's go, the house happens to be short of some slaves. Cam slapped his thigh. As someone who had received 9 years of compulsory education in his previous life, he had no taboos. As long as a woman grows up to be beautiful, her background doesn't matter. Wait. Suddenly, Kaji stopped Cam and Lucky, looking vigilant. Lord Cam, boss, we seem to be being followed. What? Lucky's eyes widened like a husky's, and he said in alarm and anger, Big Brother and I are both celestial dragon, who dares to follow us? Kaji frowned even more, saying, it's CP0. As soon as these words came out, it became clear that the only one who could make CP0 follow a celestial dragon must be another celestial dragon. It should be Kalong. Third brother has always been at odds with me. Cam had an answer after thinking for a while. It is worth mentioning, although Kalong's strength is not bad, and he is also the most burly, he is the weakest except for Cam. Even inferior to his fourth sister Junlai. Kalong, who occupies the fourth position, is very afraid of Cam catching up, and even a few months ago, he did not hesitate to frame his own brother as a celestial dragon traitor. It is very likely that he is the murderer who killed the original owner. Cam paused and asked, Kaji, can you just kill them? Wait for me. As Kaji's words fell, his figure flashed. When Kaji reappeared, he was holding 2 bloody heads in his hands. Their strength is not bad, their observation haki has reached the intermediate level. Kaji said with a solemn expression, Lord Cam, boss, to prevent accidents, you should hire more bodyguards. I'm afraid. He doesn't have the guts. Cam said coldly, but he was holding back a breath in his heart. If it weren't for wanting to accumulate experience points to get that dual cultivation technique, he could now push his 2-color haki to the intermediate stage. How could Kalong be able to show off here? Cam added, ignore him for now, let's go to the auction house. Not long after, on the top floor of the shopping mall, the slave auction house. Big brother, the toilet is over there. Lucky saw that Cam went to the backstage as soon as he came up, and thought he didn't know the way. Status is for using. Cam snorted coldly and walked to the backstage of the auction house. Cam held the celestial dragon token, and no one dared to stop him. Under the guidance of the system, he quickly found the woman with extremely high destiny value. Esteemed Saint Crocrade Cam. Knowing that the celestial dragon had arrived, the boss of the slave auction house personally received him, feeling both happy and surprised. The boss introduced, her name is Jia You, she used to be a princess of the Brown Kingdom, and she is still a virgin. Cam didn't listen at all. His eyes were sizing up the person in front of him. P.S. The appearance description has been cut. The general appearance is the appearance of Genshin Eula. Note, only the appearance is similar. Cam hasn't missed any slave auctions in the past few months, but he has never seen such a top-quality beauty. Why do you say she used to be a princess? Cam suddenly asked. Esteemed Saint Crocrade Cam. The boss bowed and then explained. Just a year ago, the throne of the Brown Kingdom was usurped by a big pirate. The original Brown royal family either died or became slaves. Cam asked curiously. Pirates seize power. Does the world government not intervene? The boss smiled and said, the Brown Kingdom is not an affiliated country. I see. Cam nodded slightly, his eyes sizing up Eula again. Woman, I think we can talk. Quote, comma, quote. Eula was dull and silent, her face numb, with only a trace of fear. Woman, do you know who the adult in front of you is? The boss was immediately anxious when he saw this, and a good deal couldn't just fall through like this. Cam waved his hand and said to the boss, you go out first, I'll talk to her alone. Yes. The boss was also sensible. He shrank his neck and stepped back. Miss Eula, I think we can have a good chat. Cam took a step forward, smiling, I will buy you later, whether you want to or not, you are my woman. But I have a habit, I don't like forcing people. Favorability means whether there are rewards or not, and how much experience there is. If conditions permit, Cam doesn't want to develop feelings over time. Eula turned her head, but sneered in her heart. Not forcing people. From the moment she became a slave, nothing was what she wanted to do. The reason she is still alive now is to be able to take revenge one day. Eula still didn't say a word, and Cam didn't care. Cam stepped forward and pinched her delicate face that could be broken by blowing. Let's make a deal, you willingly be my woman, and I will help you restore your country. What? Eula's delicate body trembled suddenly, her face full of disbelief. He said he would help her restore her country. Let me introduce myself. My name is Saint Crocrade Cam, the direct son of the Clucklade family. Cam smiled and let go. That is, the world noble, so I have enough ability to help you. Why would you? Eula asked. Cam blocked Eula's red lips and said, actually, I am a very righteous man. I can't bear to see a good country being plundered by pirates. Really? Eula was slightly stagnant, and a trace of expectation flashed in her eyes. Cam said, fake, I just want your body. This. Eula's mouth twitched, making an expression like a living person for the first time. Cam smiled and said, how about it, is this deal done? In fact, for Cam, this is not a deal at all. He will definitely buy Eula, whether she wants to or not, she will be his. If she is his, then her country is occupied by pirates, and he will not do nothing. As for whether she is willing or not, only she knows about this kind of thing. For her, such a transaction is like a free benefit, because whether she wants to or not, she will be bought by Cam and then occupy her body. As for whether she is willing or not, only she knows about this kind of thing. For her, the only uncomfortable thing is that the young man in front of her is the legendary Celestial Dragon. The reputation of the Celestial Dragon is not good, let alone she is from a non-affiliated country. Okay. I, Jia You, swear in the name of the Brown royal family. Eula paused slightly and gritted her teeth. As long as Saint Crocrade Cam can help me restore my country, I will willingly be the adult's woman. Since that's the case, then let me see if you are really willing. Cam stepped forward and picked up Eula in his arms. Tear. Adult. My body is very dirty, I haven't taken a bath. Eula was already frightened, thinking that celestial dragons are so playful. At the same time, Kam's somewhat absurd behavior gave her a sense of security for no reason, at least indicating that the celestial dragon in front of her did not care so much about her status as a slave. It doesn't matter. Kam smiled and waved his hand. Then, in this somewhat dim room, some indescribable sounds suddenly sounded. The celestial dragon is worthy of being a celestial dragon, he plays so well. The auction house boss listened to the movement inside and smacked his tongue outside. But he was pleasantly surprised in his heart, which meant that his deal was done. Comma. Chapter 47. The Straw Hat Pirates appear. Comma. Ding = congratulations, host, for completing a major life event. Experience plus 1000. Ding = detected Isha Yuli's affection level towards the host is 40. Detected Isha Yuli's destiny value is Isha Yuli's beauty value is 91. Ding = detected Isha Yuli's affection level towards the host is below the standard, unable to trigger the pioneering reward. The affection level is only 40. Kam murmured in his heart, not feeling too surprised. After all, she used to be a princess of a former dynasty, and also a princess of a non-affiliated country, so she would naturally have grievances against the celestial dragon. 40 is actually quite high. Eula hadn't eaten for a few days, plus Kam's combat power was really tyrannical. Not long after. Ha, esteemed Saint Crocrade Kam, this is your card. The boss of the auction house was full of respect. He really didn't expect a human slave to be sold at a high price of 100 million belly. This is already higher than an unmined merfolk. Esteemed Saint Crocrade Kam. The auction house boss paused and said, the auction house is currently holding an auction. Are you interested? How long has it been going on? Kam asked. It just started 10 minutes ago, the boss replied. Okay. Kam nodded, not refusing. Kam was thinking, are there any women with lower destiny values but who are very good looking? If not, buying some ordinary women as maids would also work. It's important to have some people at home to take care of things. Soon, Kam took Eula to the auction house at the front desk. As a result, coincidentally, Saint Karen came to the door. Fifth brother. Saint Karen glared at Kam. I will not let you go for attacking my CP0. Kam said loudly. This barbarian, this is an auction house. Please do not cause trouble. Kam's voice was very loud, immediately attracting the attention of everyone present. Because of Kam's identity, security personnel immediately pointed their guns at Kalong. This guest, please leave. Saint Karen was dumbfounded for a moment. He was actually being pointed at by a group of lowly people with guns. Lowly people. I am a celestial dragon. Saint Karen instantly became angry, took out his celestial dragon token, and knocked it against a group of security guards. A group of lowly people, I am a celestial dragon. Damn it, just because he didn't wear a bubble helmet to track Kam, doesn't mean he's not a celestial dragon. At the same time, inside a hotel on Island 3. Straw Hat Crew temporary gathering place. I really didn't expect the Navy to see through Luffy's code and send such a large number of Marines to encircle us. They could only think that way, otherwise, it would be impossible to explain why the Navy was encircling them on such a large scale at this time, as if they knew they would set sail again. Isn't that a good thing? That shows that we are notorious. Frankie put his hands together, 40 degrees diagonally upward, it's really super. Quote. The four people and one reindeer joked, but their faces were a little serious. When they landed on the island, they were told by the flying fish riders that the Navy was encircling them. They used the power of the flying fish riders to secretly come to this place. Buru. At this moment, the phone bug rang. Nami, who was closest, trembled and answered the phone bug, and then was immediately surprised. Frankie asked. Nami, who has arrived this time? Nami exclaimed. Sanji. Robin. They have arrived one after another. That's great, now only Luffy and Brook are left. Chopper said happily while licking a cotton candy. That's right. Speaking of Brook, Usopp frowned, picked up a Soul King promotional poster on the table and asked, can anyone tell me what's going on? Speaking of which, that guy is now shining brightly. Frankie said with a serious face. From the dark and silent fog sea, he jumped onto a dazzling stage full of cheers. Maybe that guy won't be a pirate anymore. Chopper, who was eating cotton candy, was stunned and instantly pounced on Frankie's head. Brook will definitely come back. Chopper roared with bared teeth and claws. Frankie, you are not allowed to say that about him. Okay, I misspoke. Frankie smiled and apologized. But everyone present knew that Frankie's words were basically true. So far, only Brook did not choose to join them after meeting the Flying Fish Riders. I'm on Chopper's side on this matter. Zoro, who was dozing off, opened his eyes and said, if he doesn't want to come back, why would he hold a concert in Shambles Islands at this time? Usopp asked, then why doesn't he join us? Who knows? Zoro yawned and continued to doze off. At the same time, Island 44. After contacting Nami, Sanji politely declined the Flying Fish Rider's request to lead the way. Taking big strides, he walked into the downtown area. Women, real women. Sanji opened his arms and roared hoarsely in front of an old woman. The old woman was stunned, raised her cane and smashed it towards Sanji's head. You're not learning to be good at a young age, but learning to be a pervert. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Before the old woman's cane could smash down, Sanji's figure flashed. 2 years. 2 years. Do you know how I spent these 2 years? Sanji appeared in front of a mother and daughter, roaring heartbreakingly. After staying in the Newkama kingdom for 2 years, he was really about to collapse. The girl said, Mom, is this uncle sick? The girl's mother said, let's go quickly, this kind of person is called a pervert. Hey, have you heard? A pervert appeared in Shambles Islands today. It's more than just a pervert, he's a complete pervert. He strikes up a conversation with everyone from 1-year-old babies to 80-year-old women. Damn, that's really perverted. Isn't that the pervert? At this moment, the people discussing suddenly noticed a blond man not far away with hearts in his eyes, flying towards them. Women. The smell of real women. Sanji sniffed hard, then brushed past a woman's fragrant neck in the crowd. Ah, get out of here, pervert. Go away, there's a pervert on this island. Did Sanji hear these words? Of course, he heard them, but he didn't care. Anyone who is horny and experiences staying in the Newkama kingdom for 2 years will understand why he is so crazy now. Sanji took big strides, heading towards Island 3, while feeling the smell of real women. At this time, auction house. 20 million belly once, 20 million belly twice, 20 million belly 3 times. Let us congratulate Saint Karen for winning this batch of Longarm tribe slaves at a price of 20 million belly. The host heavily hammered the auction hammer, his heart extremely excited. Longarm tribe, the market price is only 700,000 belly, a batch of 10, which is only 7 million belly. Saint Karen offered 20 million belly, which made their auction house nearly doubled their income. How could people not be excited? Of course, he is not a fool either, knowing that this is the result of Saint Karen and Cam's anger. Cam's arrogance immediately caused an uproar in the audience. Wow! Is this the legendary world noble? It seems that this Saint Karen is richer than Cam Saint. Shish, let me tell you, I heard that Saint Karen is the 3rd son of their family, and his strength is even more extraordinary. It is said that Cam is a well-known lecher among the celestial dragons. Quote. Listening to the discussions in the arena, Saint Karen immediately felt very proud. Immediately, he stretched out a little finger and pointed at the opposite box, as if to say, you are so inferior. This damn Kalong. Lucky slammed the table and roared. This is deliberately targeting Big Brother. The auction has been going on for some time, and every time Cam sees something good, Saint Karen directly raises the price to a range that completely exceeds the price the item should have. Although Cam has money, having money and being stupid are not the same concept, so naturally he is too lazy to chase the price. Big Brother, you must continue to bid later. Lucky said in a deep voice. You must not stop, otherwise you will lose face. Chapter 48 I want to trick my 3rd brother. Don't worry. Cam Saint said with a smile. It's important to deal with business first. Not long ago, Cam Saint had already received news that 2 Straw Hat members had appeared in Shambles Islands. Kaji. Cam Saint ordered. Go and capture a Straw Hat member alive. Brook's side can't be careless either. Cam Saint paused, and then said, even if he says he doesn't want to be a pirate anymore, Wang Lufei's character will not easily let him get off the ship. Yes. After Kaji left, Cam Saint called the boss of the auction house and asked, "Do you want to make a lot of money?" The boss nodded heavily. "I dream about it. In that case, I want to trick my third brother. Do you dare to accept this?" Cam Saint nodded slightly, and then talked about the details of tricking Saint Karen. "Okay, it just so happens that no one wants that transvestite." The boss nodded with a forced smile. "If worst comes to worst, we'll run away after we get the money." Soon. The next auction item is a stunningly beautiful slave. Starting price is 1 million belly. When the host introduced, colorful lights on the stage formed a shadow, covering the woman in the middle. The light in the venue was dim, and her face could not be seen clearly, but her hot figure made people imagine, their hearts flutter, and their blood boil. Gudong. Damn, a great beauty. In the end, the signature of this auction house is still all kinds of beauties. It is said that this auction house even sold merfolk more than a year ago. Just as everyone was talking about it, Cam Saint stood up instantly, raised the auction paddle and said loudly, 50 million belly. Suddenly, the whole place was silent. Before they could even take a breath, Saint Karen followed closely, 60 million belly. Cam Saint was relentless, 100 million belly. 110 million belly. Quote, quote. Quote, quote. The price went up all the way, and it instantly rose to 500 million belly. HMPH, want to raise the price. Let me take over. Be a pure sucker. Saint Karen showed a playful smile. I'm not that stupid. He immediately stopped bidding and said to Cam Saint in a loud voice, since fifth brother likes this cheap slave so much, then I, as an older brother, will give it to you. Then thank you, third brother. Cam Saint smiled and replied. What's going on? Saint Karen was stunned for a moment. He didn't see the slightest expression of heartache in Cam Saint's eyes. The next auction item is a stunningly beautiful slave. The appearance method was exactly the same as just now, and the looming lights made the woman on the stage even more seductive. Then, just like just now, this beauty had nothing to do with ordinary nobles at all. Cam Saint and Saint Karen raised the price to hundreds of millions of belly. This time, Saint Karen was careful and stopped bidding after bidding 300 million. Cam Saint naturally accepted with a smile. Next auction item, stunning. Cam Saint directly interrupted the host and said loudly, stop talking nonsense, 50 million belly. Saint Karen followed closely, 100 million belly. Quote, quote. Quote, quote. This time, Cam Saint bought the beautiful slave for 800 million belly. Next, more than a dozen stunning beauties, with a minimum of 100 million belly and a maximum of 1 billion belly, were all taken into Cam Saint's bag. The people present were completely numb. This is the celestial dragon. Damn it, we call ourselves nobles, but the price of a slave is higher than our entire noble family. Those who can enter the auction house are people with status, mostly nobles from nearby countries. However, Cam Saint and Saint Karen are clearly arguing, why do I feel that Cam Saint doesn't feel any pain at all? Have you forgotten what I just said? That Cam Saint is a big pervert. With such stunning beauties, he is willing to spend more money. But does he have that much money? You don't know this, Cam Saint is famous for being generous. I heard that just a year ago, he spent hundreds of billions to buy a kingdom. The purpose is to raise women. Damn, really? So that's how it is. Quote, quote. Listening to the surrounding discussions, Saint Karen slapped his thigh. Why did I forget that Cam Saint is a big pervert? Originally, he was still confused, how could Cam Saint be willing to spend so much money? But when he thought that Cam Saint was the kind of big pervert who would sleep with any woman, he understood everything. It's like someone who is extremely addicted to alcohol is willing to spend most of their savings to exchange for fine wine, just like a gambler who easily loses all their wealth. And in Saint Karen's eyes, even in the eyes of most celestial dragon, since Cam Saint shamelessly wanted to accept the punishment of marrying the Alabasta royal family, Cam Saint has already become a pervert with only women in his mind. Saint Karen thought to himself, since that's the case, then I don't have to be timid anymore. Next auction item, stunning. Cam Saint interrupted the host and said loudly, stop talking nonsense. 50 million belly. Saint Karen followed closely, 1 billion belly. Third brother, you're going a bit too far. Cam Saint glared at Saint Karen, indicating that this was completely malicious price gouging. The rules of the auction house are that the highest bidder wins. Saint Karen squinted and smiled. I have already given you more than a dozen beauties, shouldn't I leave one for my brother? Damn it. Cam Saint clenched his fists and said angrily, I will not give you a woman. I bid 1.1 billion belly. Seeing Cam Saint's frustrated look, Saint Karen laughed and shouted again. I bid 1.2 billion belly. Cam Saint looked distressed and shouted word by word. 1.3 billion belly. Saint Karen. 1.4 billion. Cam Saint. I bid 1.5 billion. Quote, quote. Quote, quote. The price continued to rise. In the end, Cam Saint bought it for 2.1 billion. Then, there were several more top-quality beauties. Cam Saint bought them for a minimum of 1 billion belly and a maximum of 5 billion belly. Every time he bought them, he looked extremely distressed, and then gritted his teeth and glared at Saint Karen with hatred. And Saint Karen always said with a smile that he would give it to Cam Saint. God, this Cam Saint is really rich. God, why do I feel like he is a fool with a lot of money? God, why am I not such a fool? Saint Karen is not bad either. He dares to chase the price, which shows that his assets are also considerable. And he is much smarter than Cam Saint. He knows when to stop. The people in the auction house were numb and couldn't believe that Cam Saint was so rich. The highest price was 5 billion belly, which is the price of 4 emperors. Liar, a bunch of liars. The slave beauties and transvestites backstage were all numb. They had been on stage dozens of times before and after, and the prices they shouted were higher than the last. As a result, no one took her away. Shut up. The boss of the auction house said with a serious face, next time, put on better makeup, stretch your legs longer, and twist your waist more. Yes. The transvestite said. Sometimes, shopping is like gambling. You can get addicted if you're not careful. Next auction item, stunning. Stop talking nonsense. I, your father, bid 1 billion belly. This time, before Cam Saint could bid first, Saint Karen shouted first. Chapter 49, a female slave worth 10 billion baileys. Cam raged, third brother. You are too much. Saint Karen raised his head and laughed. Auction rules, the highest bidder wins. And haven't you noticed that this woman is more attractive than the previous ones? Huh. Cam was stunned, his eyes carefully examining her. Then, pretending to be captivated, he loudly announced, I bid 1.5 billion belly. Fifth brother, that won't do. Kalong sneered, third brother, I bid 3 billion belly. Cam's eyes turned bloodshot as he gritted his teeth, 3.5 billion belly. Kalong continued to sneer, this woman has excellent looks, perfect for warming my feet in the palace. I bid 5 billion belly. At this moment, the boss of the auction house seized the opportunity to organize the atmosphere. Hiss. Heavens, did I hear correctly? Saint Karen is spending so much money on a female slave just to warm his feet. Although Cam Saint is very generous, he's a bit brainless. Shish. Do you not want to live? Quote, quote. Hearing these words, Cam immediately became anxious. I must have this woman, 6 billion belly. Haha, fifth brother, that won't do. Saint Karen laughed loudly, raising his arm and shouting, I bid 10 billion belly. Cam, then you can have her. Huh. Quote. Kalong's laughter came to an abrupt halt, freezing like a statue. 10 billion belly once. At this moment, the host's voice pulled Kalong back to reality. Cam, why aren't you raising the price? Why aren't you raising the price? Kalong glared at Cam with a face full of anger, as if Cam owed him 10 billion. Cam spread his hands, looking innocent, I don't have enough money. What? Kalong instantly panicked. 10 billion belly was close to his annual expenses. To buy a lowly female slave. How was that possible? He wasn't a pervert like Cam. 10 billion belly twice. The host shouted loudly. Fifth brother, just add a little more. This time, third brother, I promise not to compete with you. Kalong's tone immediately became humble. Third brother, it's not that I don't want to add more. I only have 7 billion belly left. Cam shook his head, looking helpless. Auction rules, the highest bidder wins. Didn't third brother you just say that? Cam blinked his eyes, looking harmless. Besides, didn't third brother just say that he wanted to buy this female slave to warm his feet? Kalong stammered, suddenly speechless. Warm feet my ass, he was just pretending. What's going on? Saint Kalong is broke but still pretending. Although Cam Saint is a bit silly, the way he bids is really handsome. Actually, let me tell you, although this Kalong is the third son in their family, he is the poorest. His strength is also the fourth from the bottom. Then who is the weakest? Of course it's Cam, but he's still young. In the future, it is estimated that both wealth and strength will be at the bottom. Do you think he won't have the money to pay? Quote, quote. The voices of the crowd were very small, but they couldn't escape Kalong's ears. These voices were like needles, directly piercing Kalong's vanity, leaving nothing behind. Shut up. Who said I can't afford to pay? Kalong also made up his mind. At worst, he would have to live a little harder this year. At worst, he would have a good time playing with this expensive female slave. Thinking like this, the next moment, the host shouted excitedly, "Let us congratulate Saint Kalong for winning this stunning transvestite at a price of 10 billion belly." Kalong didn't react at first, but after taking 2 steps, he directly fell to the ground. A transvestite. Kalong's head turned white. He staggered to his feet, stepped forward quickly, and with a trembling hand, performed a monkey steals peach on the beautiful transvestite. I swear, it's really a transvestite. Kalong's face turned green, like eating shit after eating a green fruit. Green, smelly, and ugly. If he hardened his heart, it wasn't that he couldn't accept buying a female slave for 10 billion belly, at most his reputation would be a little worse. But spend 10 billion belly to buy a transvestite. Tisk tisk. How could it be a transvestite? Kalong roared at the auction staff in exasperation. You didn't tell me that the auction was for a transvestite. Honorable Corclade St. Karen. The host said, neither humble nor arrogant. At that time, I was going to introduce a stunning transvestite, but you interrupted my introduction, and the basic information of each round of auction items will be sent to the guests. How could you not know? I. Kalong was exasperated and speechless again. He just wanted to show off. He just wanted to raise the price. He never thought about buying it. How could he carefully read the item description? But could he say that? Ha ha ha. Cam stepped forward quickly and laughed. No wonder third brother didn't want so many women before, so third brother likes transvestites. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere group acted again. Hiss. So this Kalong has this kind of hobby. No wonder Kalong's figure is so good, so he likes transvestites. Do you guys think Kalong is a 1 or a 0? Nonsense. Definitely a 1. Puff puff puff. Kalong was so angry that he attacked his heart, spitting out several mouthfuls of blood. In a daze, he saw Cam covering his mouth and snickering, and he understood everything. I understand. Cam, it's you. Kalong grabbed Cam's collar like a stray dog, howling, it must be you who deliberately led me into the trap, you didn't lack money at all. You're just trying to harm me. Kalong, you're addicted to slandering me. Cam pushed Kalong away, and said angrily, I heard that this auction house produces beautiful women, and I originally planned to buy all the female slaves here. But because of you, it made me spend so much money for nothing. Cam immediately pretended to be a victim and said, if you hadn't been raising the price arbitrarily, causing me to not have enough funds, I'm afraid I would have accidentally packed this transvestite as well. How could it be your turn? As soon as these words came out, everyone present nodded secretly in their hearts. What Cam said makes sense. You maliciously raised the price, causing people to run out of money. As a result, you got caught, and you're still embarrassed to blame people for not having money. How can there be such a thing in the world? But speaking of which, I still have to thank third brother. Cam patted Kalong on the shoulder and said with a smile, it's enough for the clansmen to call me a big pervert, I don't want to be called gay by the clansmen. Puff puff. Kalong spat out several mouthfuls of blood again upon hearing this. Cam said unhurriedly, third brother, stop spitting blood, pay the money quickly. Although I know you are not rich, you can still get 10 billion belly, right? Dream on. I am a celestial dragon. Everything in this world belongs to me. What if I just don't pay? Chapter 50 Sanji. Just call me Buckwheat Superman. At this moment, Saint Karen had already planned to throw caution to the wind. He could suffer a loss and buy a female slave, as that could at least be put to use. But to have him spend a huge sum to buy a transvestite. He couldn't imagine what the family members would think if they knew about this. Saint Karen, are you so poor that you can't even take out 10 billion belly? At this time, Lucky said jokingly, it seems I have to tell those wavering brothers in the family that there's no need to consider a direct descendant who can't even take out 10 billion. You, poo poo poo. Saint Karen trembled violently with anger, and a bright red pillar of blood spurted from Saint Karen's mouth. This was a naked threat. In the family's struggle for power, Saint Karen was already in a weak position. Although everyone knew that Saint Karen was the poorest of the 5 siblings, this poverty was relative. He was much wealthier than the average collateral descendant. But if it were spread that he was being unreasonable over a mere 10 billion item, losing face would be a small matter, but losing the support of some collateral relatives would be a big deal. After all, no one wants to work for a boss who is penniless. Report. Just then, Saint Karen's CP0 came to report. What's the matter? Saint Karen asked, recovering. Saint Karen. The man leaned close to Saint Karen's ear and said something. Saint Karen's complexion, which had been as ugly as dung, suddenly changed, and in the end, he laughed out loud. He glanced at Cam, and said with a proud face, I am the direct descendant of the Clucklade family, how could I not be able to afford a mere 10 billion? Saint Karen paid the money happily and left. What's going on? Cam hated that his observation hockey was a little lacking, and he couldn't hear what they were saying. Could it be that he won another 10 billion in the lottery? At this time, a corner near the auction house. Saint Karen confirmed, as the news confirmed. Saint Karen, the news is absolutely true. The 2 people that Cam Saint sent people to track not long ago are cat burglar Nami of the Straw Hat crew, and the pervert Frankie. After our people took over the tracking, they also discovered that Straw Hat Kid is recruiting pirate partners. As the CP0 said, he handed over the photos they had taken. Saint Karen took it and looked at it carefully. It was exactly the same as Straw Hat Kid on the wanted poster. Cam, you didn't expect it. The Straw Hat Kid you tried so hard to catch will be intercepted by me. Go. I'm going to capture Straw Hat Kid myself. Saint Karen smiled confidently and strode away. Not long after, a young man with yellow hair and curly eyelashes picked up the Straw Hat Kid's photo that had fallen on the ground. This is Luffy, are they idiots? Sanji frowned, wondering if there was something wrong with his eyes. This isn't exactly the same, this is completely unrelated. But now that I think about it, those people's addressed to him. While Sanji was puzzled, he looked up at the shopping mall not far away. Although it's not wearing a glass cover, that person just now should be a celestial dragon. Sanji walked while thinking, and came to a tea house near the shopping mall. Sanji asked, Uncle, what is the top floor of that shopping mall? Why do I feel like there are so many women locked inside? The old man said, Young man, the top floor of that shopping mall is actually a slave auction house. It specializes in auctioning beauties from all over the world. If you're lucky, you can even meet a merfolk beauty. Tisk tisk. I was lucky enough to see it once, those beauties are all top-notch. At this point, the old man looked intoxicated. Then he sighed and said, but those are all for nobles to play with, and it doesn't have much to do with us. What a bunch of scumbags, treating women like what? Sanji's face instantly turned cold, his eyes staring at the shopping mall across the street. At this time, Cam also happened to be putting his arm around Eula and leading the 5 slightly less attractive maids he bought out the door. Then, as soon as they went out, Cam and Sanji's eyes met each other. Cam. Sanji. The eyes of the 2 men straightened immediately. Sanji. Beauty. Is that woman a slave? Sanji stared at Eula in front of Cam, thinking that he couldn't afford to offend the celestial dragon, but he could still be a hero to save the beauty for ordinary nobles. Luck has come and can't be stopped. Cam's heart was filled with uncontrollable excitement. As long as he can catch a member of the Straw Hat crew, with Wang Lufei's personality, it is impossible to abandon them, so that he can turn passivity into initiative. Whoosh. Just then, with a whoosh, a figure as fast as lightning passed by Cam, and then fled towards Island 3 without looking back. What the hell? Cam didn't understand what Sanji was doing at first. But when he looked up, the woman he had just bought was gone, and Sanji had taken her away. Gaia. Cam was anxious, but he quickly recovered. Although he, Cam, and the Straw Hat crew are destined to be enemies, having watched, Pirate King, he still believes in the character of most of the Straw Hat crew. Although Sanji is horny, he will never plunder women because he knows the spirit of chivalry. It's probably because Sanji saw that Eula was pitiful, so he came to the rescue. After all, the Straw Hat crew is famous for being nosy. Big brother, what's wrong with you? At this time, Lucky had just come out, and asked when he saw Cam's gloomy face. From now on, this island will be completely under martial law. Cam didn't answer with a gloomy face, and immediately called the surrounding navy on the phone bug to come to support him. Although he, Cam, believes in Sanji's character. But this is completely two different things. At this time, in a small alley. A bit like, but not quite like. Eula narrowed her eyes slightly, staring at Sanji. Her country was destroyed by pirates who escaped from Impel Down, so she naturally regarded Blackbeard and Straw Hat Kid as enemies. Naturally, I have also seen the wanted warrants of other members of the Straw Hat crew. The man who saved her in front of her looks a bit like Sanji in the Straw Hat crew, but not exactly. P.S. Sanji's Diao picture wanted warrant. Who are you? Why did you save me? Eula asked with a gloomy face. At this moment, she had already made up her mind that if this person was Black Leg Sanji of the Straw Hat crew, she would turn around and leave. Even if she knew that only Straw Hat Kid participated in the prison break in the Straw Hat crew. But because of her love for Wu and Wu, she couldn't feel any goodwill towards the other members of the Straw Hat crew. Sanji lit a cigarette and said seriously, "Isn't it right for a man to come to the rescue when a beautiful woman is in danger? As for who I am." Sanji paused and said, "Just call me Soba Mask." Hearing this, Eula breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that he's not Black Leg Sanji. Tat tat tat. At this time, Cam led some marines to surround this place. Cam took a step forward and glared angrily. "Let go of my woman." "Your woman?" Sanji sneered. "You scum who robs women." Cam was anxious. "She was bought by me, not robbed." Chapter 51. Can you guys in the Straw Hat Pirates stop being so nosy? Bought. Quote. Sanji stubbed out his cigarette, his face full of anger as he said, "What do you take women for?" "No. I had already come to an agreement with Eula. I help her restore her kingdom, help her get revenge. She becomes my woman. Can't you Straw Hat crew mind your own business?" Cam's face darkened, and he said angrily, "My deal with Eula is a fair trade. If you don't believe me, ask Eula." Huh. Sanji frowned. The person in front of him didn't seem to be lying. If there was a fair trade between them, it seemed that he was indeed meddling. Sanji looked at Eula, wanting to seek a reply from the person involved. Eula was immediately caught in a dilemma. She did reach a deal with Cam Saint, but this blonde man called Soba Mask didn't seem like a bad person. All the compromises were made in the hope of revenge. If this celestial dragon called Cam Saint could really help her restore her kingdom as the deal stated, she wouldn't even frown if she had to die. But as a princess of a non-allied nation, she knew that most celestial dragon were untrustworthy. What should she choose? Eula hesitated, she didn't know what to choose. But Eula's hesitation made Sanji misunderstand. Sanji coldly glanced at Cam. Fair trade. She didn't say a word. Moonwalk. Almost at the same time, Sanji stepped into the air and flew towards the sky with Eula. Fire! Fire! When the Marines saw Sanji escaping, they immediately raised their guns and fired. Fire your sister. Cam immediately stopped them. Which of you knows Moonwalk? Go after him for me. This. The faces of the Marine present immediately turned ugly, not knowing whether to speak or not. Cam was exasperated. Don't tell me that none of you know Moonwalk. Esteemed Saint crowcrayed Cam. A Marine respectfully saluted and said, Moonwalk is the most difficult of the 6 styles, none of us know it. At the same time, inside a tavern. Cam, I'm going to snatch your credit. Saint Karen couldn't stop smiling, as if he had already won. He glanced at Luffy in the corner and smiled. Straw Hat Kid with a bounty of 400 million belly, I didn't expect him to be so weak. I think it's not that Straw Hat Kid is weak, but that Lord Saint Karen is too strong. A CP0 member flattered. That's right, Cam Saint can't even beat this kind of weakling. How can he be a match for Lord Saint Karen? Lord Saint Karen, I suggest killing Straw Hat Kid immediately. Take his head and claim credit. At this time, a CP0 member suggested. Woohoo, woohoo. When Dan Morrow, fake Luffy, heard that he was going to be killed, his body struggled violently. I'm not Straw Hat Kid. I'm an imposter. Can you take off the cloth and let me speak? Damn, he's still not being honest. A CP0 member saw this and punched and kicked Dan Morrow, almost beating the fake Luffy to death. Alright, don't really beat him to death. Kalong stopped and said, I want to take him back alive, otherwise what will that little bastard Cam say if I cut him off? Then Lord St. Karen, what should we do now? CP0 asked. Kalong thought for a while and said, contact the Navy stationed in Shambles Islands, tell them that I, St. Korakuredo Kalong, have captured Straw Hat Kid. And announce it to the whole island. Cam's mouth curled into a smile. Once the news is released, the fake will become real. Comma. At the same time, Island 47. As in the original plot, the Pirate Empress personally escorted Luffy to the island, gave Luffy a fake nose to hide his identity, and a large amount of food. Is there anything different? Yes. Unlike the original plot, the Pirate Empress did not give her cloak to Luffy. Sister. Won't you stay for a while? Second sister asked. No. Hancock shook her head. Luffy has been training for 2 years, he doesn't need my protection. Okay, sister. Comma. At this time. Island 3, Straw Hat Crew temporary gathering place. Sanji. You're finally here. Seeing the person coming, Nami was immediately surprised, and without thinking, she swayed her plumpness and hugged Sanji. Nami Swan. Seeing Nami hug him, Sanji's eyes immediately turned into hearts, and he hugged Nami. Sanji. It's so good that you're okay. Sooner said than done, Chopper wiped his nose and tears and threw Nami behind him. Chopper took the lead and gave Sanji a long-awaited hug. Nami Swan, you've lost weight, and your chest has become smaller. Sanji rubbed Chopper's cheek, thinking he was hugging Nami. Chopper. Sanji, I'm Chopper. Huh. Sanji opened his eyes, and then his face turned ashen. Chopper, get out. Sanji, what are you talking nonsense about? Chopper rubbed his cheeks hard and said innocently, I'm Chopper. Sanji pulled Chopper away. His eyes turned into hearts again. Nami Swan, give me another hug. Nami. Get lost. Speaking of which, Usopp looked at the woman behind Sanji and asked curiously, Sanji, who is this woman? Picked up at the entrance of the slave auction house. Sanji lit a cigarette and said, her name seems to be Eula, I brought her back because she looked pitiful. I see. Frankie put his hands together and made a signature move, but she is really a super beautiful beauty. Nami frowned and asked, but why did she faint? Zoro glanced at Sanji and said, he's a perverted chef, you can imagine how he made her faint. Hearing this, Sanji was immediately angry. Green Algae Head, who are you calling a perverted chef? Huh. Who are you calling Green Algae Head? Idiot. Of course it's you. Are you looking for a fight? Come on, who's afraid of who? Clang, 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 clang. A series of metal collisions rose and fell, the two of them looking like mortal enemies. Ah, this. Everyone supported their foreheads. It's been 2 years, and Sanji and Zoro are still as loving as ever. You two are enough. Nami punched twice and stopped the two from fighting. Nami asked, how did she faint? Sanji shrugged and said innocently, I didn't know she was afraid of heights. That's not important. Sanji lit a cigarette and asked again, what's the situation now? I see a lot of Navy on the island are arresting us. Also, why did the Flying Fish Riders know in advance that the Navy would encircle us? About this, Nami frowned slightly. We only know that a mysterious person knew in advance that the Navy was going to encircle us, so he asked the people from the Flying Fish Riders to lead the way when we landed on the island. Mysterious person. Everyone was confused, wondering who this mysterious person was. Let's not worry about this mysterious person, who else hasn't arrived yet? Sanji asked straight to the point. Robin will be here soon, and Luffy is also on his way. As for Brook, Usopp frowned and still said truthfully, he arrived at Shambles Islands a long time ago, but he didn't come here to meet us like we did, maybe. So Brook is that mysterious person. Sanji said in surprise. I think the same as this idiot chef. Zoro said. Why would you think that? Nami asked curiously. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 52 Eula is pregnant. Intuition. Zoro and Sanji said in unison. Sanji smiled and said, let's not worry about that for now. There are many Marines outside. When Eula asked me my name just now, I casually made one up. I was thinking you guys could also make up aliases, preferably with some disguises. Huh. Everyone's expressions turned strange, and then they smiled at each other. We were prepared for it. As expected of the Straw Hat crew, their thoughts are surprisingly aligned. That's right. Usopp looked at the still unconscious Eula and asked, what are you going to do with this woman? Sanji said, let's hand her over to the Navy when the time comes. We'll run into them sooner or later anyway. Am I late? Just then, a beautiful woman with darker skin asked from the doorway. At this moment, Shambles Islands, Island 66, Navy headquarters in Shambles Islands. Worthless. A bunch of good-for-nothings. I told you to keep a close eye on the Soul King a month ago. Now you're telling me he's gone missing. Cam Saint pointed at the dozens of Marines there and started scolding them, feeling extremely angry. As early as a few months ago, he had already contacted Brook's manager, intending to control Brook as a trump card against Wang Luffy. After Eula was kidnapped by Sanji, Cam wanted to use Brook to exchange for her. But Brook disappeared. Listening to a series of unpleasant insults, one of the Marines couldn't help but retort, Lord Cam, as far as I know, she was just a slave you bought. Just let her live or die on her own. Why? Slap. Cam slapped him directly without saying a word. I bought her. And I slept with her. She is my woman. If you dare to be disrespectful again, I'll blow you away. Damn it. These Marines couldn't keep an eye on people themselves and are blaming it on her status. Although Cam doesn't have much of a conscience, he also knows what responsibility is. He already slept with her, no matter what her previous status was, she is his woman now. Moreover, Cam suddenly understood why Eula was hesitant back then. Because he is a celestial dragon. And she is a slave. The most humble and the most noble of statuses. Even if she was a princess before, she was still a princess of a non-affiliated country, and her status was completely incompatible with that of a celestial dragon. Bringing up status in front of Cam at this critical moment, the only reason he didn't blow him away was because Cam has a good temper. Blow me away. Come and blow me away. Blow right here. The Marine who had just been slapped was also full of anger, immediately pointing at his temple and angrily said, You. Bang. Before he could continue, there was a gunshot. A bloody hole immediately appeared on his temple. I've never heard such a request in all my life. After Cam finished speaking, he coldly glanced at the Marines present. Does anyone else have such a request? No. Not long after the Marines left, the system's broadcast sounded. Ding = detected host's offspring +1. Ding = detected Isha Yu Li's favorability towards the host is 40. Detected Isha Yu Li's fate value is Eula's beauty value is 91. Triggering offspring reward. Ding detected Isha Yu Li's favorability towards the host is 40, triggering failure. What? Cam was dumbfounded at the time. Are you kidding me? Eula is pregnant so quickly. Just as Cam was wondering, the system's broadcast came again. Ding = congratulations to host for achieving the achievement, one-shot wonder. Ding = reward mall random draw ticket times 20. Ding = intimate reminder. Host is currently in a period of good pregnancy, the probability of winning the lottery is higher. Oh. Got it, it's really a good pregnancy. Damn system, why are you only reminding me now? Cam felt that this system was really a dog. If he had known earlier that he was a one-shot wonder, he would have taken Eula back to marry Geoise directly, and there wouldn't have been the things that happened later. Host, just now, your child successfully surpassed 99.99% of its competitors. Alright, then hurry up and draw the lottery. Cam waved his hand, thinking that he must be in a dungeon, and the things the system draws at this time must be useful for the current situation. Soon, a series of white lights flashed by. Congratulations on obtaining Wahaha Pure Water times 100. Congratulations on obtaining a singing chicken times 2.5. Opening square bracket closing square bracket. Congratulations on obtaining high-quality black silk times 100. Congratulations on obtaining high-quality flesh-colored silk times 100. Congratulations on obtaining high-quality white silk times 100. Congratulations on obtaining JK uniform times 100. Ding equals all items have been placed in the system space, host can take them out at any time. What's the use of these? Cam's face was livid, and 100 curse words were surging in his heart. This isn't ancient times, this world already has these things. There's only one last draw left. According to the usual routine, there must be something good at the end. Cam clicked the draw button, and then, as expected, a purple light flashed. There's something good. Ding equals congratulations on obtaining transmission anchor times 2. Transmission anchor can be set up in 2 places for round-trip transmission. Jia ha ha ha. As expected, something good came out. Cam was very happy at first, but he was stunned the next second. Transmission anchor. It doesn't seem to be useful for the current situation. Buru buru. Just then, the phone bug rang. It was Lucky calling. Cam. What's the matter? Lucky. Big brother, big brother. The Straw Hat crew has been found. Cam. Where? Lucky. Island 3. Comma comma. Comma comma. At this moment. Island 3, the Straw Hat crew's temporary gathering place. Who are you? After Eula woke up, she stared intently at the strange men and women in the room, a trace of fear flashing in her beautiful eyes. Very similar. This group of people is very similar to the Straw Hat crew. They are my companions. Sanji introduced them one by one. She is Mina, she is Binro, he is Liar Bu. Huff. Eula's hanging heart suddenly dropped, so they are not the Straw Hat crew. At this time, Sanji lit a cigarette and said, to be honest, we are pirates. Boom. They are pirates. As soon as this was said, it was like detonating a blockbuster. Eula's just relaxed heart instantly exploded. Eula's delicate body trembled violently, her eyes suddenly became fierce, and she glared fiercely at everyone present. As if everyone present had a life and death feud with her. Then brush. With a sound, Eula took half a step back, glared angrily and said, pirates. Get out. Oh. The Straw Hat crew sighed leisurely, they were not surprised. After all, ordinary people in this world have this attitude towards pirates. Eula, although we are pirates, we have never harmed you from beginning to end. Nami said, and it was Buckwheat who saved you. If it wasn't for him, with your beauty, you would probably be reduced to a plaything of some noble. Nami's eyes moved down, sweeping over the plumpness that even she was a little jealous of. Feeling the gaze of strangeness cast. Eula's face turned white. You won't do anything to me, will you? I'm telling you, I'd rather die than be done by pirates. Quote. Nami covered her face, pointed at Sanji and asked, did that curly eyebrow do anything to you? No. Eula replied. Then that's fine, isn't it? He's the horniest in our team. If he doesn't touch you, no one will have any ideas about you. We are pirates, and we don't plan to take you for a long time. We will hand you over to the Navy when we enter the New World. Nami thought for a while and said, actually, I used to hate pirates the most. Chapter 53. The fake Straw Hat gang is arrested. As Nami spoke, she began to talk about her past experiences, which slightly eased Eula's wariness. Hearing that Nami's hometown had also been occupied by pirates, she felt a sense of empathy. I see you really hate pirates. Have you been bullied by them too? Nami asked curiously. Wah. As if a switch had been flipped, Eula couldn't help but burst into loud sobs. I have nowhere to go. A year ago, a pirate occupied my country. My father died, my mother died, and many people died. Quote. She vented all the bitterness she had accumulated over the past year. Pirates seizing power, and the Navy doesn't care. The world government doesn't care. Robin asked with a frown. The world government wouldn't care about internal changes in a kingdom's dynasty, but it would deal with malicious incidents like pirates usurping a country. That's what happened to my former boss. Eula said embarrassedly, my country isn't a member state. Everyone nodded. I see. Actually, it's not a big deal if it's not a member state. Eula stammered and continued, those pirates were originally locked up in prison and couldn't get out, but someone broke them out. The pirate who occupied my country also took the opportunity to escape. Please accept our condolences. The Straw Hat crew members present all war expressions of sympathy. They had encountered a similar pirate usurpation incident in Alabasta, but at least it didn't happen at that time, but the woman in front of them had already lost her country and her home. Sanji's eyes flashed with anger. If you ask me, the pirates who broke them out should also be held responsible. That's right. Eula nodded, her face serious as she said, so I not only want to take revenge on the pirates who occupied my kingdom, but also on those pirates who broke them out. Eula paused, then asked, so, can you tell me, what kind of pirate crew are you? Eula's intuition told her that the people in front of her wouldn't hurt her. But the more she looked at them, the more she felt that they looked like the Straw Hat crew, so she might as well ask clearly. Boom. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere became subtle. What do you want to know that for? Nami frowned, looking at Eula warily. The Straw Hat crew members, except for Sanji, also looked at Eula warily. Normally, they would proudly say that they were the Straw Hat crew, but now there were many Marines outside preparing to encircle and suppress them. They couldn't guarantee that Eula wouldn't inform on them, nor could they be sure if Eula had any other identity. Dong, dong, dong. Just as the atmosphere became tense, a broadcast that reverberated throughout the island came. Beep. Just now, the world noble esteemed Saint Crocrade Cam has successfully defeated and captured the Straw Hat crew. Instantly. Everyone was dumbfounded. We've been captured, how come we don't know? At this moment, Nami had already turned on the Den Den Mushi. On the TV screen, a man wearing a glass jow behind him had several pirates tied up. And the pirate in the lead was wearing a straw hat. Is that Luffy? So fat like a pig, is that Luffy? The Straw Hat crew members were completely dumbfounded. Just a second ago, they were worried about whether Brook or Luffy had been captured, and they were once anxious. But now, that's it. But they quickly realized that the Straw Hat crew captured on TV was fake. Cough, cough, cough. At this time, Usopp coughed lightly, putting on a look of great revenge. That's great. The Straw Hat crew has finally been captured. Usopp's acting was full of skill. This grandpa used to be tortured enough by this evil Straw Hat crew. Eula turned her head to look at Usopp, and asked in surprise, you have a grudge against the Straw Hat crew? That's for sure. It was the Straw Hat crew that burned this grandpa's ship. Usopp nodded heavily, winking at the Straw Hat crew. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they understood in seconds. Now the official news is that the Straw Hat crew has been captured, and the officials don't know which are the fake Straw Hat crew. Now is the best time to hide their identity. I also have a grudge against the Straw Hat crew. Frankie imitated, nodding heavily. The Straw Hat crew demolished my house. Sanji. The Straw Hat crew always steals my food. Nami. Zoro. Robin. Only Chopper, an honest person, hugged the TV and cried sadly. They are just like me. Seeing that everyone present hated the Straw Hat crew so much, and even their pets were moved to tears, Eula's hanging heart was completely let go. They all had conflicts with the Straw Hat crew like her, how could they be the Straw Hat crew? She, Eula, admitted that she was somewhat lacking in her ability to recognize people, but she could tell at a glance that the people in front of her were not lying. The fact was indeed as Eula thought, the Straw Hat crew members really didn't lie. Usopp said that his ship was burned, and the Going Merry was indeed burned. Frankie said that his house was demolished, and it was indeed demolished. Sanji said that his food was stolen, and it was indeed often stolen. Comma. At the same time, on the other side. Everyone. Luffy was panicked when he heard the broadcast. He wasn't captured, so it must be Zoro, Nami and the others who were captured. Ah! Luffy roared to the sky. Damn celestial dragon. Damned navy. They actually captured my companions. Straw Hat boss, please calm down. The flying fish riders who led the way for Luffy frowned. Maybe the celestial dragon captured a fake. Before the flying fish riders member could finish speaking, Luffy was gone. Sigh, it's really a headache. The flying fish riders supported their foreheads, wondering why Luffy was so impulsive. At this time, Cam was also confused. He hadn't even seen the Straw Hat crew yet, how could Saint Kalong have arrested them? In doubt, Cam turned on the miniature Den Den Mushi. On the Den Den Mushi screen, Kalong was surrounded by a bunch of fake Straw Hat crew, and he immediately understood. Esteemed Saint Crocrade Cam. At this time, a marine ran up and asked, Saint Kalong has already captured Straw Hat Kid. Do we still need to move forward? Cam said angrily, Idiot, Kalong captured a fake Straw Hat crew. My woman is still in their hands. It is worth mentioning, Cam considered whether to send the Marines to intercept Wang Lufei in Fish Man Island in advance and snatch Eula back. Although he didn't want to admit it, Cam, as a man who had watched Open Double Angle Bracket Pirate King Close Double Angle Bracket, knew that the Straw Hat crew shouldn't do anything bad to Eula. But no. Knowing the plot, he knew that the Straw Hat crew would encounter an attack from the new Fish Man pirates in the sea. Eula was just an ordinary person, and she might not survive this attack. This was not the most important thing. Precisely because he knew this, Cam had installed a large number of explosives on the Straw Hat cruise ship early on. Tread, tread, tread. Cam led the Marines forward, mightily. Soon, they arrived at Island Number 3 and surrounded the Straw Hat crew's temporary gathering place. Cam shouted loudly with a megaphone, "Straw Hat crew. Hand over my woman. Damn it, it's the Navy." The Straw Hat crew knew that the matter could not be concealed, and they gritted their teeth, planning to force their way out. Why is it him? Sanji's mind was blank, and a series of questions could not be answered. Isn't that Eula's buyer? Why can that buyer lead thousands of Marines to encircle and suppress them? Isn't he just an ordinary noble? Straw Hat crew. They are the Straw Hat crew. Eula's brain crashed, and she didn't understand what was going on. Cam just called them the Straw Hat crew. But wasn't the Straw Hat crew captured? Chapter 54. Fierce Battle, Encirclement and Suppression of the Straw Hat Pirates. In a flash, the battle had already begun. Bang, bang, bang. Clang, clang, clang. Instantly, the sound of swords clashing on the field was crisp and piercing. Cam Saint had already given the order that guns were not to be used. Eula, you said you would willingly be my woman. Cam Saint took the lead and came before Sanji. Behind Sanji was Eula. I. Eula paused slightly, a hint of anticipation flashing in her eyes as she looked at Sanji and asked, "Are you really the Straw Hat crew?" "Miss Eula, I'm sorry." Sanji lit a cigarette, nodding with a gloomy expression, "I am the cook of the Straw Hat crew." Bang! These words were like a thunderclap from a clear sky. Eula's expression suddenly changed drastically, becoming ferocious. "Ah! Do you know who those two pirates who escaped from Impel Down are?" Eula pushed Sanji away, her eyes wide with anger. "It's Blackbeard Teach, and your Captain Straw Hat Kid. If it weren't for them, my parents wouldn't have died, my country wouldn't have fallen." Eula roared hysterically, her eyes red, "I will never forgive them even if I die." How could this be? Sanji staggered backward, hardly daring to believe it was true. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Just then, a figure wearing a straw hat came catapulting towards this place, emitting bursts of air-splitting sounds like rubber bands tearing through the air. Everyone. Luffy adjusted the straw hat on his head. "I'm here." Luffy. The Straw Hat crew were greatly relieved. Luffy had finally arrived. Straw Hat Kid, it really is Straw Hat Kid. Eula stared intently at the Straw Hat Kid who had suddenly appeared. She was 100% certain that it was the real Straw Hat Kid. She would never misremember that Straw Hat. "Straw Hat Kid, I'm going to kill you." A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Eula's eyes. If Straw Hat Kid hadn't wreaked havoc in Impel Down, if he hadn't released those pirates, her country wouldn't have been invaded by the escaped pirates. When people encounter irreversible events, they always trace back to the source. To hate the demon who opened Pandora's box. For Eula, this demon was Blackbeard, and Straw Hat Kid. "Ah! Straw Hat Kid. I'm going to kill you." Eula shouted hoarsely, her extreme hatred causing her to explode with a speed far exceeding her usual at this moment. So fast that everyone, including Cam Saint, didn't react. By the time they reacted, Eula had already appeared in front of Wang Lufei with a large sword. Who is she? Luffy was taken aback when he saw the woman suddenly appear in front of him. But immediately, he smelled a scent that he extremely disliked. Hiss. She's a celestial dragon. She has the scent of a celestial dragon. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in Luffy's eyes, and he delivered a heavy punch to Eula's abdomen. Boom. Seeing that Eula was about to be sent flying, Luffy immediately stretched out his rubber arm and hooked Eula's body back. "Damn celestial dragon, don't even think about running." Luffy roared, punching Eula's abdomen several more times. "Wang Lufei, I'm going to fucking kill you." Cam Saint instantly moved forward, rushing up to Wang Lufei and unleashing a flurry of attacks. You're that celestial dragon from Ship Island last time. Luffy narrowed his eyes, recognizing Cam Saint. So, you're the one who wants to encircle my comrades. Gum gum Gatling. Luffy waved his fists, countless punches raining down like a torrential storm. Useless against me. Cam Saint snorted lightly, immediately activating Cuckold's rage. Rumble. As the shout fell, countless punches shattered like bubbles at a touch. What's going on? Wang Lufei's eyes widened, truly not understanding how his Gatling had disappeared. Wang Lufei, I'm not done with you. After settling Anne, Cam Saint snatched the large sword from her hand and slashed wildly at Wang Lufei. Clang clang clang. The crisp sound of metal clashing echoed incessantly. Ah! It hurts so much. Luffy was covered in blood, letting out a pig-slaughtering scream. Luffy wanted to counterattack, but whenever he shouted, "Gum gum," his body would instantly become limp and powerless. Luffy could only defend passively, but what he feared most was sharp weapons. Wang Lufei, die for me. The hand holding the large sword burst forth with tremendous force, heavily slashing towards Wang Lufei's head with armament hockey. Lu, FFY. Seeing this scene, the Straw Hat crew present all had drastic changes in expression. He'll die. If he was hit, Luffy would definitely die. Zoro and Sanji roared in a deep voice, "You bastard. Let go of our captain." 3,000 worlds. The situation was extremely critical. Zoro didn't even have time to recite the poem. Devil Wind Leg. Zoro and Sanji's legs were like compressed springs, exploding instantly with a bang, wanting to save Luffy. How is it possible? I can't move my body. Zoro and Sanji's expressions changed drastically. They were shocked to find their bodies suddenly weak and powerless. What are you doing? Luffy is about to be killed. Usopp looked at this scene in horror, not understanding why Zoro and Sanji had suddenly stopped. Luffy. Nami closed her eyes tightly, not daring to look at this scene. Ah! Wang Lufei. Die. Sizzle sizzle sizzle. Just as the large sword in Cam Saint's hand was only 1 centimeter away from Wang Lufei's neck, a strange icy aura suddenly appeared, causing Cam Saint's body to suddenly freeze. Only to see a skull suddenly appear behind Cam Saint. What's going on? Cam Saint frowned. He suddenly discovered that Cuckold's rage was not working on Brook. Could it be that skeletons do not belong to the category of humans? Brook. Chopper was tearful. From the beginning he was convinced that Brook would not leave their Straw Hat crew. Phew. Zoro and Sanji breathed a sigh of relief, grateful that Luffy had not died in front of them. At the same time, they were curious as to why Brook was not affected by that strange power. Yo-ho-ho-ho. I'm not late, am I? Brook smiled hippily while sheathing his sword. Bink sake blizzard slash. Gudong dong. Only to see that at this moment, the wounds on Cam Saint's body instantly formed ice blocks, and then with a bang, froze Cam Saint's entire person. Lord Cam. The Marines were alarmed, rushing forward to protect Cam Saint, afraid that something might happen to Cam Saint. Straw Hat crew, you actually dare to beat a celestial dragon. Lucky's expression stiffened, and he immediately used a phone bug to call the Navy Admiral. Damn stinky Marines, now it's Grandpa's turn to counterattack. Let you taste the fruits of Grandpa's 2 years of hard training. Seeing the Marines suffer, Usopp laughed loudly, immediately pulling the slingshot. Hisatsu Green Star Bamboo Forest Javelin Missile. Boom boom boom. The green star seeds were launched, and in the blink of an eye, countless dense thorn forests grew rapidly. They were like green blades, piercing through the bodies of one Marine after another, and like a bloodthirsty demon, reaping the lives of all the Marines in front. And you two bastards, taste Grandpa's power too. Seeing that his killing move was so awesome, Usopp instantly swelled up, pulling the slingshot towards the direction of Cam Saint and Eula. Usopp, stop. Sanji stopped Usopp, angrily saying, didn't you see Eula is there too? Sanji, you bastard, didn't you see that woman wanted to kill Luffy? Usopp pushed Sanji away, indicating that Eula was the enemy. Hisatsu Green Star Bamboo Forest Javelin Missile. Usopp simply ignored Sanji and fired directly. Damn it. Sanji grabbed Usopp's collar and roared angrily, she's just an ordinary person. She is the enemy. Usopp's eyes were red, really wanting to beat Sanji up. Even at this time, he was still adhering to his chivalrous spirit. Luffy was almost killed by that woman. Usopp now felt that it was probably that woman named Eula who revealed their hiding place. Otherwise, how could the Marines have found them so quickly? Usopp, you bastard. Sanji was furious, staring fixedly at Usopp. Alright, argue later if there's anything. Nami waved her hands repeatedly. Now quickly take Luffy away. I've brought the ship, everyone follow me. Brook carried the unconscious Luffy on his back, fleeing towards the coast. Great, there's hope. The Straw Hat crew paused and ran towards the coast. Alas! Although Sanji felt a little uncomfortable, he still chased after them. Now he roughly understood in his heart that the Celestial Dragon's earlier statement about reaching a fair deal with Eula should be true. And he never expected that Luffy was one of the two villains he said he wanted to punish. Want to leave? No way. Just then, Cam Saint broke out of the ice, staring at the Straw Hat crew who were about to escape like a demon. Cam Saint issued a loud order. All Marines, chase and kill the Straw Hat crew, leave none alive. Yes. 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 Tens of thousands of Marines seemed to have found a leader, and the panic caused by Cam Saint being frozen just now disappeared. They stomped their feet in unison and chased after the Straw Hat crew in a mighty manner. Rumble. Taking advantage of the suppression of the artillery fire, they soon caught up with the Straw Hat crew. It's over, why are there so many Marines? Chapter 55. Wind, Dragon takes action. It's over, why are there so many Marines? Quote. Usopp cried, holding his head, feeling that the Straw Hat crew was doomed. Why, this scale of the Navy is comparable to a Buster Call. Robin's expression was grave, not understanding why so many Marines were chasing them. Curly brow. Green algae head. Later, let's compare who defeats more Marines, whoever defeats more will cover the rear. Idiot, of course it's me. Who are you calling an idiot? Zoro and Sanji, two rivals, smiled at each other, ready to fight to the death. Tap tap tap. At this moment, an old figure suddenly appeared in front of tens of thousands of Marines. Disciple sets sail, please help as appropriate. The figure drew a line on the ground with a knife. I advise you not to cross this line. The figure was an old man, but his eyes did not have the weariness of an old man. On the contrary, they were incomparably sharp. It's Dark King Rayleigh. The Marines' faces showed fear, thinking that this big shot was not someone their small soldiers could handle. Fear what? Get on with it for me. Cam shouted loudly, and then a blind old man appeared in front of him. It was Navy Admiral Fujitora, who Lucky had just called. Fujitora stepped forward and confronted Rayleigh. Isho, I have long heard of the Dark King's name, and I have come to ask for guidance. Fujitora, stop that old man for me. Cam gave Fujitora an order, and then led the Marines to continue chasing the Straw Hat crew. Was that Rayleigh just now? He just said disciple. Who is his disciple? Quote. Stop talking nonsense, run, run. Almost to the shore. Damn it, they're catching up. Zoro paused, wanting to stay behind alone to cover the retreat. That idiot. A graceful figure in the distance looked at Zoro, who had suddenly stopped, and chuckled, then floated down. Perona. Horo horo horo. Ah. I am sorry for being born as a human. Ah. If there is an afterlife, I want to be a maggot. Ah. My existence is not as good as a maggot. Ah. Living with everyone on this land, I'm really sorry. Quote. 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 For a time, all the Marines knelt down and became depressed as if they were possessed. Perona. Damn it, I forgot about this. Cam secretly cried out in his heart, and shouted loudly again, Cuckold's rage. Instantly, all the Marines within 10 meters of Cam returned to normal, causing an uproar. What happened to me just now? How could I say such negative things? Haha, you want to be a maggot, so funny. Quote. 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 Cam roared, stop bickering, take your weapons, and chase me. Quote. Cam led his troops all the way to pursue. The individual strength of the Marines is weak, but they can't stand the large number of people. Hundreds of gun muzzles were pointed at several people, that firepower was unmatched. The Marines were again within a 10-meter radius of Cam, and all attacks from the Straw Hat crew were useless against him, making him look like an invincible human tank. Chase me, the Straw Hat crew can't escape. Cam was ecstatic in his heart, sneering at the Straw Hat crew for running to the coast. Before he came, he ordered Kaji to guard Sunny at Island 17 to the death. When they arrived at the coast, there was no ship, and the navy was all around. The Straw Hat crew was bound to die. What's going on? But when Cam chased to the shore, he was directly stunned, and he was shocked to find that Sunny was docked on the shore. Damn it, what is Kaji doing? It's impossible for him not to be able to deal with a Brook, right? Quick, get on the ship quickly, Brook shouted loudly. Brook, are you the mysterious person? Chopper asked as soon as he got on the deck. Yes. Brook nodded. I discovered a long time ago that there was something wrong with my agent. It seems that he colluded with some big shot and wanted to take Luffy's life. Curly Algae, what's going on with that woman just now? Sanji's attention was still on Perona just now. None of your business. Zoro, Sanji, hurry up and set sail. Quote. Quote. Big brother, what should we do if they get on the ship? Lucky looked embarrassed, not understanding why the Straw Hat crew could run so fast. Activate plan number 2. Quote. Cam took out the phone bug and issued the latest order. All naval marines, come to the west coast of Island No. 3. Cam emphasized his tone. All. Remember, it's all. The logic is very simple. As long as there are enough warships, this sea area will be crowded enough, and the Straw Hat crew will definitely not be able to escape. Run. Run. We'll be safe when we get to the deep water area. Quote. The Straw Hat crew's speed was very fast, and they could reach the deep water area in a few minutes of sailing, and then dive into the sea to escape. Straw Hat crew sighted. Straw Hat crew sighted, don't let them run away. Run. How can they run? Quote. The Straw Hat crew's ship seems to be able to fly. Fly my ass, how can their ship fly when it's coated with a film? But the Navy's speed was even faster, and densely packed naval warships completely occupied the deep water area, directly blocking the Straw Hat crew's only way out. Rumble. Not only that, but thousands of cannons were firing wildly at the Straw Hat crew as if they didn't cost money. Damn it, the road ahead is blocked, Brook cursed secretly. Sanji asked, Frankie, can you use Wind Blast? No. Frankie shook his head and said, after using Wind Blast, the air inside the film will be instantly drawn away. Chopper. There is a tiger in front and a cheat behind. Zoro couldn't help but curse. That Cam behind is too weird, no attack method is effective against him. We're really done for this time, really done for. Nami and Usopp cried, holding their heads, feeling that they were really done for this time. Everyone. Robin smiled faintly. Actually, it's not necessarily over. Huh. Quote. Everyone's eyes lit up, looking at Robin, waiting for her answer. I have been protected by the Dragon Life Army for the past 2 years, and they brought me here just now. Robin nodded slightly. So, the wind will help us. Robin's words fell. Hiss. A flash of lightning instantly cut through the sky, and the sky above was completely torn apart, as if divine punishment had descended. Whoosh whoosh. Immediately, the entire Shambles Island suddenly became windy, and the waves rolled, instantly setting off monstrous waves. Wind. What a big wind. What's going on? Why is there such a big wind suddenly? The weather forecast clearly said it would be sunny today. Damn it, our ship is flying up. Damn it. I was blown back to the shore by the wind. Run, the giant wave is going to land. Quote. Including Cam and Lucky, the tens of thousands of Marines who chased them at the beginning, and the Marines who blocked the Straw Hat crew later, a total of 100,000 troops. They were not on the same level at all, and they were all blown back to the shore by the wind without any resistance. Big brother, what's going on with this wind? Does God also want to help those pirates? Lucky trembled, feeling that the giant waves caused by this wind could easily kill him. Dragon, it's Dragon, this wind was created by Dragon. Quote. Having a cheat and also relying on his dad, it's too much of a rascal. Quote. Cam gritted his silver teeth, his face full of unwillingness, he really didn't expect Dragon to appear here. Dragon. The leader of that Dragon Life Army. Lucky's expression suddenly changed drastically, and he grabbed Cam and ran away immediately. Big brother, run. Quote. Others don't dare to really kill them Celestial Dragon, but Dragon is not among them. Damn it. Quote. Cam clenched his fists tightly, staring at the divine punishment like 10,000-meter giant wave in front of him. Suddenly, Cam laughed. Do you think this will save Wang Lufei? Quote. Chapter 56 It's all Sanji's wanted order. Dream on. To be on the safe side, Cam had already placed a large amount of explosives in the Sunny's cabins. Once detonated in the sea, a devil fruit user like Wang Lufei would almost certainly die. Boss. Boss. I'm here. Just then, Kaji, as if having applied oil to the soles of his feet, found Cam and the other, saying he was there to protect them. Kaji, how did you guard the ship? Cam asked angrily. If the Straw Hat crew hadn't appeared on the Sunny, it wouldn't have been so easy for them to escape. Boss, that ship is haunted, there are ghosts. Kaji looked troubled, saying he had been afraid of such things since he was a child. This. Cam facepalmed, truly not expecting that Kaji, such a big man, would be afraid of such things. Forget it, the remote switch for those explosives is with you, right? That. Kaji frowned, weakly saying, the detonator for the blasting cap malfunctioned, so that. Ouch, boss, why are you hitting me? I'm hitting you because you deserve it. Comma. Whoosh. The 10,000-meter sea waves stirred up by the strong wind were like the hands of a god. Before it, the densely packed warships were like toys, swept up by the wind and then slammed down. At this moment, under the wind and rain, only one ship stood still, like the rising sun. What reason is there to stop a man from setting sail? Dragon stood high on the red tree, gazing into the distance. TCH, I didn't even have a chance to make a move. Sabo complained, saying Dragon was too unreasonable, using a big move right away. Dragon, Sabo. Ivankov asked in surprise from the side, aren't you going to say hello to Straw Hat Boy? Sabo smiled brightly, there will always be a chance. Let's not talk about this. Dragon frowned, the current situation has changed. I heard that in the New World's Lulan Kingdom, the king has not appeared for a year. Perhaps he has already met with misfortune. Ivankov, I'll leave the Lulan Kingdom to you. Then what about me? Sabo asked. You go to Dressrosa to investigate. Most of the weapons in the world seem to come from there. That's so boring. Sabo pouted, then looked at Ivankov. Ivankov, why don't I switch with you? Ivankov covered his face. Do you know what appeared over there? Sabo asked. What appeared? Ivankov said, the Mara Mara no Mi. What? Sabo's expression suddenly changed drastically, trembling with excitement. So, do you still want to switch now? Ivankov asked with a smile. No switch, no switch. Sabo shook his head repeatedly, I wouldn't switch for anything. Comma. The rain cleared, and a rainbow appeared after the rain. The azure sea, with a rainbow hanging high. At this moment, ahead of the Sunny was an endless expanse. Is that Luffy's dad's strength? Usopp's eyes lit up, so excited he wanted to jump up. I remember now. Nami exclaimed, the weather was like this in Logatown last time, Luffy's father helped us last time too. Chopper said, it's a pity, Luffy was knocked unconscious by that cam. He didn't get to see his father. Brooke said, Yohohoho, I thought Luffy was a poor kid, but I didn't expect his family to be so awesome. Frankie, stop yapping, hurry up and set sail. Sanji, yes, please let our navigator Nami-san issue the order. Weather clear, no wind. Nami raised the klima tacked high. Now remove the airbags and set sail for Fishman Island. Comma. Has that guy become so strong? Rayleigh's figure flickered, his expression horrified as he swept across the sky. Who? Shaki asked. A madman, used to be a marine. Rayleigh nodded. The wind stopped, the waves calmed, and the sea leveled. On a small boat, two figures. What's wrong? Perona asked in surprise, seeing Hawkeye staring blankly. The person in the sky. Hawkeye was silent for a long time, then said solemnly, is very strong. In the sky. Perona looked up. Where is there anyone? Perona paused, then asked, didn't you say you weren't going to send that idiot? Why did you come too? Hawkeye. Mind your own business. At this moment. In Mary Geoise, Kalong walked with a beaming face on the avenue leading to Pangaea Castle, pulling a fat man wearing a straw hat behind him. After I hand over Straw Hat Kid to the 5 elders, I will be the hero of our celestial dragons. Kalong was in a great mood. As a direct descendant of the Clucklade family, he clearly knew the impact of the Nika fruit on their clan. I seem to see a smooth future ahead of me. Before long. Kalong, with steps resembling Doflamingo, entered Pangaea Castle. Then, without even saying hello, he directly kicked open the door to the five elders' meeting hall. Kalong exclaimed, "Five elders grandpas, I have great news." Kalong. The five elders were immediately annoyed, thinking how impolite this Kalong was. They were about to scold him, but Kalong preempted them. "Everyone, five elders grandpas, please listen to me first." At this moment, Kalong raised his head high, his nostrils facing the old men, looking as arrogant as possible. Kalong said loudly, "I have captured Straw Hat Kid, who is this generation's Nika fruit user." Boom. These words were like a thunderclap, stunning the five old men. "Kalong, have you really captured Straw Hat Kid?" Nujiro stepped forward and grabbed Kalong's shoulders tightly. "Of course." Kalong smiled confidently, then dragged Danmaro Black Fake Luffy in by himself. "Everyone, grandpas, look." The five elders frowned, always feeling that this Straw Hat Kid was strange. A bit like, but also a bit unlike. The five old men immediately used the same technology as the pacifista. Scan. Pirate. Danmaro Black. Bounty. 26 million belly. Haha, everyone, grandpas. This great achievement, I don't want much. Reward me with 100 billion belly, reward me with a dozen rare devil fruits, and give me a high-level position in the Night Order. At this moment, Kalong was completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem, arrogantly demanding rewards. Kalong. Kama. About 2.5 hours later, Cam returned to Mary Geoy's, only to hear that his third brother Kalong had been beaten to a pulp. Cam wasn't very interested in this and hurried back to his own home. "Husband, who is this?" The three women looked strangely at the half-dead Eula. "The former princess of the Brown Kingdom, your future sister." Cam roughly explained what happened today, and then dismissed the three women. "System. Get out here, I need you to do something." It's worth mentioning, the first time Cam saved Eula during the day, Cam used 60% of Heal Fruit ability to stabilize her injury. Eula's life was not in danger, but the situation was still not optimistic. Because Eula's abdomen was punched several times by Wang Lufei, and Usopp pierced her with a forest of thorns. So, ding == experience points have been deducted. In the end, Cam saved his unborn child at the cost of 550,000 experience points. Wang Lufei, Usopp, I will definitely kill you guys. Cam swore secretly. Late at night, Eula woke up and asked, were those people really the Straw Hat crew? Do you have a grudge against the Straw Hat crew? Cam rubbed his head, somewhat not understanding why she wanted to chop Wang Lufei to death during the day. Yes. Eula nodded heavily, telling how her country was ravaged by a powerful pirate. And that powerful pirate was one of the many pirates released from Impel Down by Straw Hat Kid and Blackbeard 2 years ago. So that's how it is. Cam nodded slightly. That's a coincidence, our enemies are the same. He is also your enemy. Eula was surprised, not understanding how a celestial dragon could have a pirate enemy. Cam smiled and said, you are my woman, he beat you half to death, of course, I have a grudge. Ah, this. Eula's face turned slightly red, feeling that this celestial dragon was a bit improper. Esteemed Saint Crocrade Cam. Eula paused, then asked, excuse me, at that time, were all those people behind me the Straw Hat crew? Cam affirmed, of course. Was that blonde man who kidnapped me also? Eula frowned, thinking it didn't look much like the wanted poster, could it be a new member? Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. Chapter 57. Screw the Gentleman, I am a villain. He is the cook of the Straw Hat crew, Black Leg Sanji. Cam nodded and looked at Eula in surprise. Since you have an old grudge against the Straw Hat crew, how could you not recognize them? Cam felt that if Eula had known earlier that she had been taken away by someone from the Straw Hat crew, there would not have been so much trouble. Black Leg Sanji. But he doesn't look like the wanted poster. Eula looked confused, and became even more confused after taking out Sanji's wanted poster. Ah, this. Cam took it and looked at it, and immediately didn't know whether to laugh or cry. P.S. Sanji's wanted poster that gave him constipation. PFF'd. Cam laughed out loud. That is Sanji's hand-drawn wanted poster, and the similarity to the real person is only 30%. Eula. Ah. After Cam explained with a smile, he summoned Gion. Brown Kingdom, now occupied by Pirate Bull Beard. Gion said, holding a stack of documents. Pirate Bull Beard, originally a prisoner held in the 5th level of Impel Down, escaped from prison during the Great Incident 2 years ago, and now has a bounty of 120 million belly. Cam ordered. Gion, I order you to go to Brown Kingdom now to arrest Bull Beard. But, Gion frowned, indicating that Brown Kingdom was not an allied country. Cam said, I will make it an allied country. Yes. Gion gave a military salute, then turned and left. Ding == detecting Isha Yuli's favorability towards the host is continuously increasing. Favorability +5. Favorability +5. Favorability +5. Opening square bracket ... closing square bracket. Ding == detecting Eula's favorability towards the host is 70, and the Wasteland Reclamation Reward and Offspring Reward have been reissued to the host. Wasteland Reclamation Reward. Armament Hockey Improvement. Offspring Reward. 1 million experience points. Cam smiled and said, this is the first step to helping you restore your country. I will do what I say. I also hope you do what you say. Eula nodded and said, I will. Husband, where are you going? At this moment, the 3 women suddenly asked. They came out after hearing the noise and saw Cam looking angry and anxious to go out. You know, it's only early in the morning now. Fish Man Island. I must kill Wang Lufei. Cam clenched his fists. He couldn't swallow this breath today, and he must not let Wang Lufei escape like this. Then I'll go too, Monet said. What are you going to do? Cam glared at Monet unhappily. Didn't husband say that I have to wait for some kind of side quest to solve my infertility problem? Then I can't just stay at home all the time, I have to go out and walk around. Monet said with firm eyes. Besides, no matter how weak I am still a Logia Devil Fruit user, and I also want to vent my anger for my sister Eula. Seeing Monet's firm look, Cam nodded and said, okay. And so, Cam and Monet set off together to Fishman Island. Also called Kaji. This dog was scared away by Brook today, and Wang Lufei was able to escape so easily, he also has a share of the responsibility. Cam, are you going to Fishman Island to deal with Straw Hat Kid? At this time, Mingmei came to the door after getting the news from somewhere. Cam asked, are you going too? Yes. Mingmei nodded and said, actually, my Makabaka family has some origins with Fishman Island. Our family was one of those who gave Otahime their consent back then. Okay, let's go together. Cam didn't think much about it. Driving Ship Island, he headed straight for Fishman Island. I injured Wang Lufei. Even if he is a Nika fruit user, it will take a lot of time to recover. The trajectory should be in the deep sea, on Ship Island. Cam thought about the details of the Fishman Island chapter. In the original plot, Luffy and his crew were scattered everywhere after being attacked by the new Fishman pirates, and each of them was unconscious for a long time, but this time must be less than the coma time that Wang Lufei was injured by himself. Wait, if Wang Lufei doesn't wake up, can the plot continue? Cam frowned, suddenly worried. Boom. At this moment, a loud noise interrupted Cam's thoughts. Husband, what is that? Monet pointed to a huge black shadow in front and exclaimed. That is. Cam's pupils shrank, his face full of astonishment. I saw a huge octopus resting on the turbulent sea current. Cam was shocked and said, Kraken, why is it here? Cam, do you know him? Mingmei asked in surprise. Cam shook his head. I can't say I know him, I just happen to have heard of him. Boss, let's go around. Kaji frowned. Although I'm not afraid of him, this is the sea after all. Don't worry. Cam waved his hand and didn't directly go around. Kraken. In the manga plot, Wang Lufei saved Shirahoshi's pet shark from Kraken, and had a relationship with Shirahoshi. If Wang Lufei is unconscious and hasn't woken up, then maybe. Cam's eyes narrowed and he activated observation haki. I saw that in addition to Kraken, there was suddenly a life aura in the field of vision. There really is one. Cam said in surprise. Kaji, you and I go out and rescue the shark in the fish tank. Shark. Kaji looked at Cam with a very wise look. There are no sharks, that's an octopus. Use haki to see for yourself. Cam roared. Damn, there really is a shark. Kaji activated observation haki. His pupils suddenly shrank. And how is it in that kind of place? Not long after, Cam and the two rescued Shirahoshi's pet shark, Megalodon. After Megalodon circled around the two of them a few times to express his gratitude, he left. Megalodon was not rescued by Wang Lufei. Has the trajectory started to change from here? Cam thought thoughtfully, but didn't care too much. He just wanted to kill Wang Lufei, and then be a celestial dragon trash. The shark just now was called Megalodon, and it is the pet of Shirahoshi, Princess of Fishman Island, Mingmei said at this time. Huh, how do you know? Cam looked at Mingmei in astonishment. I just know, Mingmei pouted. Comma. Fishman Island, Ryugu Kingdom, is in a sense the closest country to Mary Geoise. Before long, Cam entered Fishman Island. At this time, it was not yet dawn. Cam and his party chose to stay in a hotel, planning to set off to crusade against the Straw Hat crew after dawn. Wang Lufei. Usopp. You were lucky yesterday. This time I must kill you. Cam roared in his room with anger in his eyes. Ding == host. The movie version invincible buff on Wang Lufei yesterday was not used, so you still can't kill him this time. Ah, this. Cam's face twitched, and he thought that the good atmosphere was gone. System, I'm being serious. Cam curled his lips and said, but the next moment, he was stunned. The whole person fell into a silence of 2.5 seconds before he came back to his senses. Damn it. Movie version buff. I forgot about it. Cam clenched his fists, his face full of unwillingness, so I really can't kill him. Bingo. Cam. After being depressed for a while, he suddenly asked, System, you wouldn't make a sound if there wasn't a way to solve it, right? No. Cam's expression stagnated, and a strange emotion lingered in his heart. Before coming, he was saying that he would never swallow this breath no matter what. But immediately. Because Wang Lufei has a cheat, if he doesn't swallow his anger, he will have to rest. Cam bit the bullet. System daddy. I'll call you dad, you can't not help me. System. Opening square bracket .. closing square bracket. Don't give me speechless. I know you must have a way. Cam roared. Host, a gentleman takes revenge, 10 years is not too late. In fact, as long as you wait for the next movie version to arrive, Wang Lufei's invincible buff will be consumed, and it will be the same to take revenge then. Go to your mother's, gentleman, I am a villain. Chapter 58. The system surrenders and calls me dad. Screw your morality, I'm a villain. Cam slapped his thigh and roared, System. If you don't help me, I. Cam stammered for a while, then immediately took out a dagger. If you don't help me vent this anger, I'll die with you. To be a man without weaknesses. As Cam spoke, he adopted a stance, looking as if he would start hacking at any moment. System. Seeing this, it was immediately shocked. If the master had no weaknesses, how would it complete the task assigned by that lord? Master, calm down, calm down. Help me vent my anger. Otherwise, even if I sacrifice my little brother, I will completely destroy you. Cam's face was full of tragic and solemnity, his posture made him look like a marine fighting on the battlefield. Master, calm down, calm down. Not for yourself, but also for the happiness of your woman. The system panicked immediately. Help me vent my anger. Cam roared even louder, the dagger getting closer, otherwise, you know. Don't. Master dad. Master daddy. The system was about to cry, what kind of strange master had it bound itself to? Others would cry, make a fuss, and threaten suicide. But its own master would chop off his little brother at the slightest disagreement. And it couldn't just ignore it. But this only made it more certain that it had not bound to the wrong person. Master daddy, calm down, calm down. I'll help you, I can help you vent your anger. That's more like it. Cam relaxed, thinking this trick was really effective. This dog system even changed its address to dad. Cam said, you can just give me a powerful experience card, and I'll go and kill Wang Lufei right now. Opening square bracket closing square bracket. System. Master daddy, I'm afraid that won't work. Huh. Cam frowned, striking a hacking pose. Say it again. Master daddy, you can't even if you really chop it off, and venting anger doesn't necessarily mean killing Wang Lufei. Seeing the system's firm attitude, Cam was also stunned. He didn't plan to really chop it off, so he asked, can I vent my anger without killing Luffy? Of course. Didn't Master Daddy say earlier that there was no way to solve Wang Lufei's invincible buff? Although this system doesn't have direct means, it can indirectly influence it. How so? Cam raised his eyebrows and asked curiously. Actually, Wang Lufei's situation is what we often call the child of destiny. Master Daddy can seize Wang Lufei's luck to consume Wang Lufei's strength. Seize luck. Cam was first happy, but soon frowned. But how to seize this kind of mysterious thing? Please. This is not a cultivation world. What treasures can seize luck? Master Daddy, do you know Cao Cao? As long as Daddy can successfully bring most of the women who have bonds with Wang Lufei into the harem, he can plunder luck. Huh. Cam's eyes lit up, but he soon frowned. Although the way to seize luck is good, can this be called venting anger? If Wang Lufei is killed, all these things can still be mine. Cam would not mix fish eyes with pearls. Although seizing Wang Lufei's luck is a good result. But no matter how you look at it, it looks like this dog system deliberately arranged a copy for itself. Master Daddy, no. This is just the result. The Straw Hat crew were misunderstood as merfolk traffickers in the original plot, and coupled with Madame Charlie's prophecy, they will inevitably conflict with the Ryugu army. At that time, Daddy will intervene a little. The Straw Hat crew will definitely be criticized by thousands of people, and everyone will scold them. Just like the cyber violence in Daddy's world. At that time, Master Daddy will replace Wang Lufei as the hero of Fishman Island. A notorious villain and a hero supported by everyone, isn't that enough to relieve your anger? In the end, Master Daddy will take advantage of the victory and pursue. Then take down Shirahoshi. Then, he. This. The corners of Cam's mouth twitched, and he began to seriously think about it. He really can't kill Wang Lufei now, and his attitude just now was more of a vent. Okay, I will make Wang Lufei have nowhere to go. On Fishman Island, he can't even think about holding a banquet. After making up his mind, Cam woke up Vice Admiral Kaji to inquire about news in Fishman Street. He was going to replace Wang Lufei to defeat Hody, and then become a hero. He always had to figure out the time to appear, right? However, it was okay not to inquire, but once he inquired, it was terrible. Hody Jones plans to attack Dragon Palace City in 3 days. What's going on? The original plot is very tight. The Straw Hat crew arrived at Fishman Island and soon caught up with the new Fishman Pirates Rebellion. Cam was shocked, and thought that Kaji had inquired about the wrong news. Ding equals. This time, the system was rarely kind and told him the corresponding timeline. It turned out, the time Hody planned to attack Dragon Palace City had not changed, but because of various butterfly effects, the Straw Hat crew set sail 3 days earlier. So, yesterday it wasn't that the Straw Hat crew didn't save Megalodon. But because Megalodon was not trapped at that time. Cam continued to think about the details of the Pirate King Fishman Island chapter. If I remember correctly, Wang Lufei and Shirahoshi became related because he accidentally saved Megalodon, so Neptune personally invited him to the royal palace as a guest. Cam's eyes lit up. Now that I saved Megalodon, I should also be invited to be a guest. Thinking of this, Cam immediately gave up the plan to be a hero directly, and planned to form a relationship with Shirahoshi first. It must be known that a hero with a bond and a hero who suddenly appears are different. Sure enough. On the same day, a huge merfolk figure appeared at the entrance of the hotel. It was the king of Ryugu Kingdom. Kaji looked at Neptune warily. King Neptune, what's the matter? You must know that Cam Saint and Mingmei Palace did not enter Fishman Island as celestial dragons, and Neptune should have nothing to do with them. So it's Vice Admiral Kaji, no wonder he saved Megalodon. Neptune smiled, and then explained the cause and effect of the matter, and invited Cam and his party to Dragon Palace City to express his gratitude. Of course, Cam readily agreed to this. Oh my god. Who were those 4 humans just now? They were actually invited by the king. Hiss. To be honest, I thought they were the evil merfolk traffickers. I heard that many merfolk have disappeared from the Fishman Cafe. But it's also strange, it seems that I haven't seen any humans come to Fishman Island these days. Quote. Under the whispers of the surrounding residents near the hotel, Cam and his party of 4 boarded a shark mount and headed towards Dragon Palace City. This way, please. Neptune seemed to realize that Cam and his party were not foodies, and did not rush to prepare a banquet, but led the group to tour the entire Dragon Palace City. What is that? On the way of the tour, Kam seized the opportunity, pointed to a black building not far away and asked knowingly, "Why are there so many weapons?" Chapter 59. First meeting with Shirahoshi. This. King Neptune visibly paused. He thought that this Mr. Kam's eyes were truly sharp, able to see from so far away. He pondered for a moment, then said, "That is a forbidden area." Quote. Kam was shocked, wondering if King Neptune was worried about Shirahoshi and therefore not telling the truth. Kam nodded, deliberately saying, "You should have said so earlier, it's a prison." Boom. As soon as these words came out, the three accompanying princes showed obvious emotional fluctuations, their faces changing drastically. Prison. To actually say that the place where Shirahoshi lived was a prison, wasn't that indirectly saying Shirahoshi was a prisoner? It's not a prison at all. Prince Flipped Car Star couldn't help but roar first. Quote. Kam curiously sized up Prince Flipped Car Star. There are so many weapons there, and there are obvious signs of destruction. If it's not a prison, what is it? It's not a prison at all. Prince Crown Star, with snot running down his face, roared, "That's where my sister lives." What? Quote. Kam and the other three's pupils shrank, their faces filled with disbelief. Their sister. That would be the mermaid princess. The mermaid princess lives in this kind of place. Please leave. Prince Flipped Car Star also started crying, roaring, "We don't welcome." Shut up. Quote. Before Prince Flipped Car Star could finish speaking, first Prince Shark Star interrupted him. "They are the guests who saved Megalodon. Mr. Kam, please forgive their rudeness." Shark Star turned to look at Kam, then introduced, "That place is called Hard Shell Tower. It is the room where my younger sister Shirahoshi Princess lives." Shark Star paused, then added, "You joking that it is a prison is not funny at all." "Ah, sorry." Kam apologized, walked a distance, then continued to ask, "I wonder if it would be convenient to tell me, why is this? Actually, this is not a secret in Fishman Island." This time Neptune answered. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, 10 years ago, a man named Vanderdecken X began to pursue Shirahoshi Princess frantically. And so, Neptune told the story of Vanderdecken X. Neptune. Therefore, for Shirahoshi Princess's safety, we had no choice but to let Shirahoshi Princess live in Hard Shell Tower to avoid the attacks. So that's how it is. Kam and the other three's expressions were not good. Even Kam, who had known about this matter for a long time, was like this. Pervert. That Vander guy is even more perverted than described in open double angle bracket Pirate King close double angle bracket. Besides throwing weapons, he will also throw, cough cough. Damn it. Shirahoshi Princess will be my future woman. I'm the only one allowed to be a pervert. Kam was indignant in his heart, and asked, "I wonder, King Neptune, can you take us inside Hard Shell Tower to take a look?" Go inside. Quote. Before Neptune could speak, Prince Crown Star was shocked. What do you want to do inside? Could it be that you are coveting Shirahoshi Princess's beauty? Kam was shocked at the time. In my heart, I shouted good fellow. Guessed so accurately. Kam coughed lightly, called out to Neptune with a smile. King Neptune, since you can recognize Vice Admiral Kaji, then you must also know his strength. With him here, there won't be any accidents. Ah, this. Neptune was stunned and fell into a dilemma. To be honest, he hadn't seen Shirahoshi Princess for a while, and he thought that since Vice Admiral Kaji was here, they could have a safe conversation, but he was also afraid that his daughter would be in danger or something. No. Quote. At this moment, Prince Flipped Car Star refused. I believe that Vice Admiral's strength can stop a weapon, but. Prince Flipped Car Star first looked respectfully at Kaji, then turned to glare at Kam. But, what if that bastard throws two weapons at the same time? Yes. Neptune was instantly stunned, feeling that it made sense. What if he throws two weapons? PFF'd. Kam found it funny. Thinking that does it make a difference to Vice Admiral Kaji if Vander throws a few weapons? Kam didn't explain, and immediately raised his head and said loudly, just leave the other one to me. Quote. Prince Crown Star and Prince Flipped Car Star looked at Kam strangely, as if saying, just you. Good fellow. Just said that the place where Shirahoshi Princess lives looks like a prison, and these two little brats are targeting me. Kam naturally noticed the gazes of the two, and immediately glared at them unhappily, thinking that if you two weren't my future brothers-in-law, I would definitely beat you to tears. Father, we haven't seen little sister for a long time, let's go together. At this time, first Prince Shark Star also requested. All right. Quote. Neptune hesitated for a while, then nodded in agreement. Not long after. Creak. Quote. Opening the heavy metal door, the group entered Hardshell Tower. Woo woo woo. Father, father. You finally came to see me. Quote. A huge, crying merfolk figure appeared in everyone's field of vision. Hiss. Four hissing sounds. Cam and the other three looked at the Shirahoshi princess in front of them, so shocked that their eyeballs were about to fall out. Big. Quote. Really big. Quote. This body size is indeed very big. Quote. And white. Quote. Quote. Mingmei looked at Cam and Kaji beside her in a daze. Why did she feel like there was more to their words? Woo woo woo. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Quote. At this time, Shirahoshi princess suddenly saw Cam and the other three and burst into tears. She was so scared that she thought these four strangers were here to kill her. Cam touched his nose. I'm not here to kill you. Is that so? Quote. Shirahoshi princess immediately stopped crying, curiously sizing up Cam and the other three, and then clung to Neptune, acting spoiled. Father, can you spend more time with me this time? I haven't seen father for a long time. Quote. This. Neptune did not answer immediately, but shifted his gaze to Cam. Seeing the latter nod, he smiled. Of course. Quote. Quote comma comma quote. Quote comma comma quote. Perhaps it was because Shirahoshi princess was naturally shy, she babbled and talked to Neptune and her three older brothers. Then, from time to time, she looked at Cam and the other three expectantly. She wanted to ask something, but in the end, she didn't dare to open her mouth. Cam didn't care either. It was just her nature. Of course. It was the environment that made her like this. If it was just himself and Shirahoshi princess alone, Shirahoshi princess, who was afraid of strangers, would definitely talk to himself, a stranger. Because it's really too lonely here. King, the time is up. Quote. At this time, the guard responsible for guarding Hardshell Tower came in to remind him. Woo. Quote. Shirahoshi princess instantly cried again. Father, didn't you promise to spend more time with me this time? Princess Shirahoshi princess, this is for your safety. Quote. The guard frowned and interjected. Ah, this. Neptune hesitated for a moment and looked at Cam. Seeing the latter nod, he waved his hand. It doesn't matter this time. Sigh. Seeing that the king had said so, the guard could only sigh helplessly and walk away, praying that no weapons would fly in today. Then, just as he was about to go out, boom, with a sound. Coincidentally, a flying axe suddenly attacked this place. Not good, princess. Quote. Upon seeing this, the guard wanted to fly to grab the axe. But how could his speed be faster than the flying axe? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The flying axe pierced through the air, past the guard, and went straight for Shirahoshi princess's head. Chapter 60. Bonding, Killing Vanderdecken X. Vice Admiral Kaji. Quote. King Neptune shouted, seeking Kaji's help, but saw that Admiral Kizaru was unmoved. Kaji glared at Neptune, thinking that he was a good employee. How could he dare to steal this opportunity to show off? Chow. Quote. Neptune gritted his teeth, wanting to use his body to block the axe. But the next second this thought came to mind. Only to hear a dwang sound, the axe stopped. Looking up, a tall figure stood in midair, easily pulling the huge flying axe. Boom. Then he threw it away. The axe shattered directly. Hiss. Quote. Neptune and the other five gasped in unison, shocked by Cam's strength. Stop hissing. Quote. Cam smiled and said, it's just a normal operation. Cam looked at Neptune again. Now you don't need to see me nod, right? Neptune had looked at him dozens of times back and forth. Was he just worried? Did he look so weak? Cough cough. Quote. Neptune coughed lightly and said, I'm just worried. At this moment, Megalodon, Shirahoshi's pet shark, returned to Hardshell Tower and immediately saw Cam and the others. Buzz. Quote. Megalodon cried happily, rushed forward and circled Cam and the others several times, expressing his gratitude again. Quote. Shirahoshi exclaimed, so you are the benefactors who saved Megalodon. The following time, Prince Crown Star and Prince Flipped Car Star apologized for their previous rudeness after seeing Cam's strength. And Shirahoshi, after knowing that Kam and the others were the saviors of her pet, was no longer afraid of strangers and asked Kam and the others many questions. This is the first step in forming a relationship. Kam originally planned to take the initiative to propose to get rid of Vanderdecken X, and his purpose was to form a relationship with Shirahoshi first through this matter. But an accident happened soon. No. Absolutely not. Quote. Prince Flipped Car Star's eyes were bloodshot, indicating that Shirahoshi must not go out. Vice Admiral Kaji and the other three were stunned. It's just going out for a meal together, is it necessary to have such a big reaction? Father, please. Quote. Shirahoshi said with tears in her eyes, pleading, we haven't eaten together for 10 years. I also want to thank these benefactors in person. This. King Neptune clenched his fists tightly, feeling very uncomfortable. Yes, a full 10 years. Their father and daughter haven't eaten together. But can he let Shirahoshi leave Hardshell Tower? Shirahoshi. Don't be ridiculous. Quote. At this time, Shark Star, who was usually easier to talk to, also opened his mouth and shouted. They have no way to deal with the weapons that may fly over at any time. Of course, they can ask Kam and the others to take action, but they are guests, not bodyguards. What's more, Shirahoshi herself proposed this matter. Can I ask a question? At this time, Mingmei interrupted the quarrel and asked, haven't you solved that pervert in the past 10 years? No, no. Neptune and the other four said with red faces. Mingmei was stunned and asked again, then does the mermaid princess eat, drink, and poop in this room? Yes. Neptune and the others gritted their teeth. This. As soon as these words came out, Mingmei was immediately stunned. She originally thought that Shirahoshi lived in this dark room and could occasionally go out for activities. But the result, eating, drinking, and pooping are all in the room. At this time, she wanted to complain. You, Neptune, are the head of a country. You can't even catch a landlubber criminal in 10 years. Should I say you are incompetent or incompetent? Mingmei glared at Neptune and the others angrily. Then in this case, what is the difference between here and a prison for Shirahoshi? Kaji also added, I think it's worse than a prison. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Hearing this, Neptune and the other four felt a burning pain on their faces. They were called a prison again. But this time no one refuted it, and they all had red faces and were full of unwillingness. How could they not know that this place was a prison for Shirahoshi, even worse than a prison, but what could they do? Well, wouldn't it be better to just kill that 9th generation? At this time, Kam said with a naive look. But he was laughing wildly in his heart. Form a relationship. Isn't this a matter of course? Shark Star shook his head and smiled bitterly. That Decan X is very powerful, we are not his opponents. Prince Crown Star and Prince Flipped Car Star echoed. That's right, he. Stop. Stop BB. Quote. Kam waved his hands repeatedly and asked. You just say, how much reward will you pay me after I help you solve him? Neptune was shocked when he heard this, and even a trace of horror flashed in Shirahoshi's eyes. Is it so easy to deal with such a strong person? All of it. As long as you can solve that guy. All the treasures in this royal palace can be given to you. Neptune even changed his title for Kam. Wait for me for a while. Kam nodded with a smile and strode out. Then he hid in a corner, took out the phone bug, and dialed Admiral Kizaru. Kizaru, do you want to take an order? Quote. How much is the salary? 30 million belly. 3 minutes later. When Kam appeared in front of everyone, dragging Vanderdecken X's body. Kam said with a smile, King Neptune, it's time to pay the reward. How is that possible? Quote. Neptune and the other four's eyes widened like huskies, unable to believe this was real. So amazing. Shirahoshi's beautiful eyes sparkled, staring closely at Kam, who was like a hero, and her heart throbbed. On the other side, the Straw Hat crew. As in the original plot, most of the Straw Hat crew were rescued by Kaimi and sent to the Fish Man Cafe to recover. Then Calibu also appeared in the Straw Hat cruise ship as always. Originally nailed with wooden barrels. But he had already escaped and began to hunt merfolk. There are also differences. Because Kam rescued Megalodon, Zoro was not invited to the royal palace for a drink. Also, because there was no attack by the Kraken. The Straw Hat cruise ship was less damaged and docked at the pirate gathering pier. It is worth mentioning, This place is right next to the dessert processing factory. Fish Man Cafe, female dormitory. Cough cough. Quote. Luffy coughed and looked around in confusion. Where am I? Luffy looked back and immediately saw a familiar figure. Kaimi. Quote. That's great, that's great. Luffy is finally awake. Chopper, who was taking care of Luffy, shed tears and rubbed Luffy's head hard. Chopper, you're hurting me. Quote. Luffy wanted to tear Chopper away, but Chopper refused to let go. How are you feeling? At this time, Usopp walked in and asked, we woke up half a day ago, but you were knocked unconscious by that guy named Cam for a whole day. Ah. Quote. Feeling the pain in his body, Luffy suddenly remembered what happened yesterday. It's okay, just eat more meat. Haha, that's great. Quote. After a few simple pleasantries, everyone explained some things. Usopp, Chopper, and Kaimi left separately, leaving only Luffy and Sanji. Sanji. Quote. Luffy was confused for a moment. This is Fish Man Island. Doesn't Sanji like merfolk the most? Why didn't he go play with Usopp? Luffy. Quote. Sanji lit a cigarette and asked, can I ask you some sad things? What's the matter? Sanji asked in a deep voice, did you also encounter other pirates when you went to save your brother? Luffy's expression froze first, but he quickly returned to calm. He tried his best to avoid the memory of Ace and smiled, thinking that he had met many partners in Impel Down. Let me tell you, Sanji. I met Buggy, the one with the red nose. There's also the one with the candle, and Bon Clay. In short, there are so many pirates. Oh, and I also met Crocodile, that bastard. Sanji asked, then where did they all go in the end? Of course they went to find their partners. Luffy tilted his head and asked, what's wrong? It's nothing. After Sanji finished speaking, he left the room. He lit a cigarette. Then he lit another one. Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories, and never miss out on a great listen.